a screen. Her smile, it shines so bright. She's a queen with every scene. In the morning or the night, recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence, it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. With every like and every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence, it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. With every like and every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong.
Mess. Scroll through her feed, feel that queen's finesse. Vines tangle tight, but Flora breaks free. Roots so deep, can't mess with her tree. From the mud she rises, roses from the dirt. Every comment section she lays down hurt. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Flora Bella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless. From the garden green to the concrete wall, Flora Bella, unstoppable nature's child. Leaves whisper secrets, she's the loudest shout. From the channel buzzing, she never backs out. Seed of strength, through seasons she grows. In the face of doubt, her spirit glows. Cameras ain't a limit, she branches out. Thorns in her crown, she wears it no doubt. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Flora Bella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Flora Bella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless.
All right, guys. Sorry very much. Sorry very much. I'm gonna run it back one time. Hey, Hassan, and give people a little bit more time to get in here because I have been putting this off, but we're here. So let's do one more of each one, and then I will be right back with you guys. All right.
Florabella on my screen. Her smile, it shines so bright. She's a queen with every scene. In the morning or the night, recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence, it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. With every like and every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong, she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence, it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. With every like and every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong, she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power. Spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong.
Battles got power, Florabella stands tall. Every drip, every drop, watch the haters fall. Channel sharp as thorns, ain't taking no mess. Scroll through her feed, feel that queen's finesse. Vines tangle tight, but Flora breaks free. Roots so deep, can't mess with her tree. From the mud she rises, roses from the dirt. Every comment section she lays down hurt. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless. From the garden green to the concrete wall, Florabella, unstoppable nature's child. Leaves whisper secrets, she's the loudest shout. From the channel buzzing, she never backs out. See seed of strength. Through seasons she grows. In the face of doubt, her spirit glows. Cameras ain't a limit, she branches out. Thorns in her crown, she wears it no doubt. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Let me adjust everything. All right. So thank you to everyone who's here with me tonight, right? Who wants to talk about such thing as personality disorders on a Saturday night? And I'm just going to go ahead and say you guys. First of all, I want to ask, you guys see my slides? Because for some reason, my phone sort of looks like you can't see it. But let me say hi to everyone as we get going. Got Hassan in here. What's going on, Hassan? How are you? Welcome, welcome. Thanks for coming tonight. Miss Lana Love, how are you? It's Saturday, you know. I'm ready to have the discussions. Now, I did have to move some things back, clearly, from 3:30. So, looks like either the show for tonight might be postponed because we'll still be here, or it'll just be later tonight. But I'm not sure about that yet, so I'm not going to make any promises. Hey, Miss Jalen, how are you? And Bridget Renee, she says, hey, Flora in chat. Hey, Bridget, I hope you're doing good. Welcome, welcome. This is sort of quite the topic for a Saturday night, but I want these type of conversations to become commonplace until we have, create a situation where more people are open and honest about maybe some things that they're going through, things that they observe in their family and friends. I just want us to be more cognizant of mental health. So that's sort of my drive here in doing these subjects. Hey, Q Kitwood, how are you today? How are you tonight, I should say. But I want us to sort of get into the discussion in terms of viewing it where we're looking at the disorders as a whole. Now, one thing I'll say is I've had a lot of people try to throw out certain nibbles about this subject matter. And I want you guys to know that since the beginning of my channel, I've always done topics like mental health and things like that. This is not new, right? This is not new to me. It's not new to my channel. I talked about all types of certain things. And I think that the more we start to learn these different disorders that can sort of display themselves in interpersonal relationships, because that's really what most of these things can be related to in terms of understanding. It's more common than we think. Like, even if they say 3% of people suffer from BPD, 3% of 200 million or 300 million or whatever it is that we have here in the United States, that is a significant population. That's about 8 million people suffering from this personality disorder. So although we might like to think everything is rare, when it comes to the individual and the group, that tends to be a higher number than we think, even if it percentage-wise it comes across like a minute portion of the society. So, and a lot of the times people have to understand that these disorders go untreated, because a lot of times people just chalk it up to, oh, that's just how they are. They was born like that. They're never gonna change. That's just Sally. Sally just does such and such, and that's part of her personality. And a lot of times, if you think about it, we use personality a lot in terms of describing people's character traits. And so personality in the context where we might be talking about our friends and things like that versus someone who's mentally ill, there tends to be some overlap, just a little bit. That's my perception, but I just wanted to give that disclaimer. This is not a message geared at any personal issues. I just want us to have this conversation more. So I put together something hopefully that you guys find interesting and that you get to enjoy with me today. All right, so we're going to start off sort of just by talking about what histrionic personality disorder is. Hold on, do this because the slides are coming out weird. What it is, did like a basic definition, and then we're gonna watch some case studies because as a CJ major, a lot of my degree was actually a lot of my degree was psychology courses. I did a whole course on personality disorders, like I mentioned, and a lot of how we got to see illustrations of certain personality disorders was through like reading vignettes or watching case studies, like live case studies, people doing either acting things out or like things having been recorded, and so they're used in like coursework material, stuff like that. So I have about 3 of those that we can sort of look at after we just get right into what it actually is. So this quote here, which I believe, I don't know if there's a author of it, but every person in the world may not become a personage, but every person may become a personality. And so I think about the duality in that word, where like personality can just mean like, sort of the traits, right? And then a personality disorder, or just like personality in the sense of a disorder, more so means a dysfunction, usually a trait that's undesirable. It's not helpful. So I think there is some duality to that word. But the basic definition of a personality disorder is a deeply ingrained pattern of behavior of a specified kind that deviates markedly from the norms of generally accepted behavior, typically apparent by the time of adolescence. So it's interesting because this research that I found here actually says it comes in adolescence, whereas when we're going to see what Dr. Romney talks about, she says that it's more likely to come into early 20s. Like, you're not really going to find someone who hasn't really fully developed to be histrionic, because there's still a lot of growing going on, a lot of peer pressure and social development as well. So even though this particular article and research that I found says adolescence, there's sort of a lot of debate in that it comes pretty much later in life, once you sort of got past that regular growing point. That's why they usually see like people who are adults past 25 even, where there's no more peer pressure. Like, a person's kind of set in who they are at that point, and there isn't a lot of like other changes that are happening in their developing brain and body, because that's a big part of it. So let me play the first case study so that we can sort of start seeing what these things look like. Because again, I don't intend to ever come over here and just be like, everybody has a personality disorder, like everyone's mentally ill. The people I don't like are mentally ill, even though that's probably the case here. That's not necessarily how I intend to do this material. So let's look at some actual case studies. I believe these are more theatric, so none of these are actual cases, but I might have one that's an actual case. So.
I've been like this since, forever. I was just a terror in high school. Complete heartbreaker. The attention is just for fun. It's a basic part of who I am. And what's wrong with that? Some even say I'm a tease, but it's not that, I enjoy how I look.
And that's going to be a big part of it. So as you guys start to pay attention to some of these case studies, pay attention to what behaviors are like out of place, right? Because a lot of the times, especially online on YouTube, there is an assortment of personalities, but there does tend to be a personality type where that's just part of their character, their seductivity, the fact that they're able to get this sort of like sexual energy. And that's going to be, I know, that's going to be a component of this disorder that will sort of give you a better idea. And then obviously later on in the presentation, we're going to do like a real like application of this in society, like where you would see somebody with histrionic personality disorder, and we actually have an example from Mean Girls. So just pay attention to her body language. She might be a little bit overtly like dramatic because this is an acting gig. You know, it's not like a real vignette or case study. So
He posted the most hideous pictures of me. I look like an absolute hag. I can't get over it. I'm a total victim. Public humiliation. But I'm not going to lower myself to that scumbag's level. Still, the pain. You can't imagine because of how unjust it is. Still, who cares, right? He was obviously not worthy of my attention.
all right, so I don't know how much you guys could sort of pick up from her personality there. That was sort of off, like out of place, I should say, is the best way to describe it. When we get into the definitions a little bit more, you guys will sort of understand a little bit better. But I'm going to show you another one, and I really want to know if you guys sort of are, if you guys are picking up what this. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. If you guys are picking up what this particular case study was putting down. But let's see it again. This was a little funny because it's clearly exaggerated, but just pay attention to what they're accentuating as like her characteristics, like how she's coming across and everything. And let me know if you guys have met somebody like this before, who they were just sort of like, they just were always trying to appeal to some type of, I'm gonna leave it at that. She said she's the victim. Yeah. It's a little, she's strange. She's a little strange. But I think that one has to do with some type of sexual encounter and her getting, what is this for? No, that's not me. I got excited. I was like, yes. And it wasn't me. But yes, so just pay attention to some of those characteristics that you're going to see. Again, this is a different lady. It's clearly acting, but just try to pay attention to what she's focusing on in terms of her expressive nature, because there's a part of that to this.
Hello, Mrs. Haywell. How are you doing today?
Oh, please, just call me Martha. You know what? I feel like I've known you for so long, like all my life. We're well past the formalities.
From one visit.
Of course. I mean, we've grown so close.
That's a very nice outfit. Are you going out somewhere special tonight?
Oh, this? Oh, God. No, this whole thing, I just threw it on. It's what you call a quick grab out the closet, But do you like it? Don't I just look beautiful?
Yes, you look...
Doesn't he look handsome too?
Yes.
This is Marco. He was named after one of my past boyfriends.
Sorry, she made me laugh with that. All right, so again, there was some qualities there that if you paid close attention to them, they seemed out of place in terms of the whole conversation. Oh, oops, sorry, y'all. I started putting up another one. So now we're going to do the last one here. Just another way to give you a visualization of what they're saying this looks like. Again, these are the actors in these videos are clinicians and other people who have an interest in teaching about these disorders. So bear in mind, some of this might look kind of cringy because they're just not good at it, whatever. But this is also an example of histrionic personality disorder. Just a short clip of an interaction with one. All right, so let me play the video.
Hello? Yeah, this is Dora. Oh, yeah, I remember you were at that party the other day. Yeah. Yeah, I had a good time. Oh, yeah. 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 I love that karaoke stuff. Yeah. And my voice isn't that bad. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. In fact, I think I almost parallel Madonna in some respects. Yeah. Yeah. You think so, right? Yeah. I knew it. Yeah. Let's go out. I made a good connection with you. Yeah. I think we're, spiritually aligned. Yeah. Yeah, I'll wear my totally red outfit. Yeah. I'll make sure my hair is done up really nice. Yes. Yeah. We'll go out and partay. Yes. Okay. All right. Ciao. Bye-bye. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, so she's clearly a cornball, but she is a counseling professional who just wanted to sort of give you guys an idea what it looked like. Now, obviously, those were really dramatic, so that you guys can get a better idea of what I'm trying to describe here. Um, but let me put the PowerPoint back up. Sorry. Someone said, "Girl, you ain't here." Yeah, she's definitely not. I was like, babe, who let you upload this, right? Like, that's how I was feeling. But it is what it is. She did a good job in the best way she knew how. All right, let's get back into the PowerPoint here. And so we sort of just got a quick introduction there. Hombre Lobo says, "Good evening, Flora and chat. Good evening. Welcome to the show." So we just saw a few examples of histrionic personality disorder, and now we're going to define it, right? Because just like narc, antisocial, all of those things, all those personality disorders have their own qualifications, even though they follow underneath this umbrella of personality disorders that is a deviation from what we usually see, right? It doesn't fit into like the normative behaviors, whether it be for a woman, man, child, whatever. It just doesn't fit the normal um, scope of how people would interact with each other, because a lot of the problems that occur in this personality type are issues with relating to people. Right? So histrionic personality, it's a cluster B personality disorder. So within that cluster, there's narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and antisocial. So you guys know these disorders all share a few qualities, and those qualities are being erratic, dramatic, and impulsive. But although they share those three things, they are their own complete disorder. They're their own issue. So although they fall in a similar cluster, the way they're classified is fairly different. So um, the way she acted, just imagine if the other party can see you and you don't know it. Oh Lord. Facts. All right, let me put this here. All right, so we're going to go into a little bit of the history of this, right? Because obviously that name, if you're in any way, I wouldn't just say feminist, but if you believe in women's rights and sort of some of the different issues that were going on in in early like mental health studies and things like that, you would sort of understand why when somebody describes something as being histrionic. Oh, can you guys see my screen? What's going on? Oh, I think it might be the picture. They won't let me play the picture. Damn, they don't. Hold on, let me do this. I'm not sure why you guys can't see my screen. This is so weird. All right, let me go over here and just share the link to the article. Right? Yeah, it just has me on. It has me in the corner of the screen, but not my PowerPoint. Like my PowerPoint and stuff is supposed to be showing, but none of it is showing. Oh, okay. So now it's showing, but it's showing this. All right, that's fine. You guys can at least see this. Let's go ahead and pull that all the way out. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger because I don't know if you guys can see the words. Oh, I mean, what is going on with this? Okay, so I'm just going to, but it's showing like a delay. Okay, all right. So that seems like it should be in place with me in the corner in a second. What is going on with this? Okay. All right. So it's on screen. So sorry for the quick technical difficulties. Let me make the words a little bigger so you guys can see. All right, so that's exactly perfect right there. All right, so histrionic personality disorder is one of the most ambiguous diagnostic categories in psychiatry. Hysteria is a classical term that includes a wide variety of psychopathological states. So again, this diagnosis has a lot of history. As far as I was reading recently, it looks like it might be one of those classifications that is on its way out the door. A few of the videos that I have as well have said that. So let's read a little bit about the history, though. Sorry, guys. I was having like the munchies for a second. All right. So ancient Egyptians and Greeks blamed the displaced womb for many women's afflictions. Several researchers from the 18th and 19th centuries studied this theme, namely Charcot, who had defined hysteria as a neurosis with an organic basis, and Sigmund Freud, who redefined neurosis as a re-experience of past psychological trauma. So that kind of sounds like PTSD, right? Sounds like you're re-experiencing things. Histrionic personality disorder made its first official appearance in the DSM, and since in the DSM-2, and since the DSM-3 is the only HPD is the only disorder that kept the term derived from the old concept of hysteria. Because if you really think about it, right, first this disorder would be exclusive to women if it was related to some sort of womb disease, right? It's also extremely misogynistic, meaning that a woman's health and her how she feels about herself is connected to the functions of her womb, which is again very misogynistic. Women have their own thoughts, ideas, belief systems, sets of personality traits and things like that that are not in any way, shape, or form connected to their womb. But for some reason, that was the original classification. Um, Let me read a little bit more about that because I really want to talk about how this shaped how we view even psychology, psychiatry, whatever you want to call it, in 2024, right? We come from a time where a lot of things were sort of classified in this like misogynistic way. A lot of the first psychologists were men. And so, of course, they're going to say, this was a disease connected to a woman's womb. If she couldn't have no babies, she was going to be crazy, right? That's like that's very inflammatory in terms of misogyny. But it says here, the subject of hysteria has reflected positions about health, religion, and relationships between the sexes in the last 4,000 years, and the discussion is likely to continue. Histrionic personality disorder is the only modern category in diagnostic classifications that conserved a derivative of the old concept hysteria. Several psychiatric disorders derive from the original term hysteria, such as the conversion disorder, the somatization disorder, somatoforms disorder, phobic anxiety, and um, the term mass hysteria, and finally HPD. Although different authors extensively studied this theme across time, the authors will focus on HPD. The word hysteria derived from the Greek term hystera, meaning the womb or uterus. So, I mean, when we get into a little bit of the actual definition of the word, you guys will get why I'm sort of walking this down in terms of the history, right? Because it's a very there's like a sexual component to this disorder. And as we get into the definition, you guys will sort of understand how that plays into gender here. All right, so in the old Rome, the word histrion was already used to define the actors that represented coarse farces, representing those who are false and theatrical. So it looks like in Rome, instead of it being a gender-based issue that was related to, the equipment of the gender in question, this was more related to having this false performance that you sort of have to do, right? This theatrics and things that can sort of come across extremely disingenuous when they're just sort of part of your personality. All right, so from Egyptians to Hippocrates. So the oldest record is an Egyptian medical papyrus dating from the around 1990 BC, the Kehun Papyrus, which is the first known medical gynecological text. Plato described the phenomenon as the animal within them is desirous of procreating children, and when remaining unfruitful, gets discontented and angry, and wandering in every direction through the body, drives them to extremity, causing all varieties of disease. Many women's afflictions, including mutism, and paralysis, were attributed to a condition called the wandering womb or the wicked womb. All right, so men have just sort of they've been playing in our faces when it comes to describing a lot of these mental illnesses, right? To call a disease a wicked womb, something that you just absolutely cannot prove, right? There's a lot of reasons why somebody would be choking, why they wouldn't speak, and things like that. And it doesn't, like, what does that even have to do with that particular organ? So specifically driven by an inability to understand what was happening with these women. So it was Hippocrates who first introduced the term hysteria and described it as a consequence of a dry womb rising toward the throat, searching for humidity, thereby impeding breathing. All right, so the neurotoxic effects of the frustrated uterus would affect widows and virgins. Galen instead blamed the blocked menstrual flow and sexual abstinence for this hysteria. Yes, they said wicked womb. All right. So notice how they're saying that the cause of this is a blocked menstrual flow and sexual abstinence. So women basically go insane when they don't have intercourse. That's what this article, or not this article, that's what historically this article is saying was the belief, and especially in Egypt, for this issue in its presentation in women. So when he chokes, then what wicked pussy? Yes, wicked pussy is likely the cause of a lot of these men's issues. Like, think about all these gossiping raggedy bandits and the issues that they face, right? They're so angry, they're so upset. They're not feeling well, they're not happy, and a lot of their issues have to do with a lack thereof, right? A lack of love, lack of touch, so this could be it. This could be what's going on with them. So one of his most striking views was that men could also suffer hysterical system caused by retained sperm. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. All right. His ideas contributed to initiate a debate which had run for centuries over whether men could or could not have hysteria. Gallen's views persisted among the medical practitioners of Christian post-Roman Britain. So the Romans are freaky people. They're very strange, right? They basically said that people can go insane if they don't have um, good loving. That's all I'm gonna say. So let's continue here. All right, so from Middle Ages to the 18th century. During Middle Ages, as the attitude towards sickness changed from naturalistic to demonotheological with Augustine of Hippo and other theologians, hysteria came to be seen as a manifestation of demonic possession. Right? And this, yeah, I'm gonna leave that alone. There is a lot of demons in this space who behave this way, so that one doesn't come too far off from me. So convulsions and the so-called suffocations of the matrix were considered as an expression of sexual pleasure and therefore sin. Devil could enter women's body to possess them, and the hysterical become the witch persecuted by the Catholic Church, and many of those were killed by the Inquisition. All right, so people were actually getting deleted behind this sort of wicked belief about what was driving some of these people crazy, right? They needed the buns, right? These women needed the tender loving of a man in so badly of a way that it made her wicked, it made her evil. She was possessed. All right. So with the renewed interest on empiricism and science during Renaissance, old geared concepts of hysteria were recuperated. Similar therapies to those prescribed in ancient Greek civilizations, such as genital stimulation by horse riding, dancing, and in particular marriage and sexual intercourse, were still prescribed for such condition. All right, so demonological. Yes, that is the word that they use to sort of describe these afflictions that they just really didn't understand. So several researchers, including Charles LePoe, Thomas Willis, Thomas Sydenham, and Pierre Pomé, had great interest in the study of hysteria. No kidding. Hey Hassan, he says to support the show, hit the Cash App, $ Flora Silva. Shout out to Hassan, yo. Please, you guys, if you can support the show. I put a lot of thoughts and effort into these discussions. So any donations that you guys have for me is greatly appreciated. All right, let me go ahead and pin Hassan's message and we can continue the show. All right, so some of these authors defied the original theories that connected hysteria to the uterus, and some defended that the disease was originated in the brain. One of the first, Thomas Willis, who argued that hysterical um, disorders, the so-called convulsive distempers, were caused by an excess of animal spirits carried by the nerves to different parts of the body, introducing a new etiology for the disease. He believed in a nervous origin of vapors, opening the door to the desexualization of the disease. The famous clinician Thomas Sydenham was one of the most important contributors to the study of hysteria at his time. He published a treatise on hysteria called Epistolary Dissertation on the Hysterical Affections, and stated that hysteria was the most common of all these diseases afflicting both men and women, and the more richer and civilized the patient was, the more likely he or she was to be afflicted. So notice how in this time frame they're also stating that wealth and some sort of affluentness was connected to was connected to people who suffered from this. Thank you so much, Cute Kidward, for the super chat. She says the nut makes you insane. They're lying. Honestly, the likes of it reminds me of Pimpsella or Pissella, whatever she's going by these days, and sort of how she talked about nut milk, right? Like, although she would act like it's other women, she was sort of fixated on the phallus and its production and things like that. So I do sort of see a little bit of that in it, in sort of this the it's sort of the background of this definition. There's this idea that sex is causing a disruption in a person's spirit, whatever it is, the way the way they describe themselves. So, all right. So William Cullen, a noted Scottish physician, published Synopsis Nosologia Multidividida, whatever, a classification of diseases where hysteria figured on the group called neuroses. These diseases were considered to be the result from the nervous system malfunction involving insensibility and motion. Hysteria was included in um, in the class of illnesses characterized by irregular muscular contractions, the so-called spasomatic diseases, but Cullen still admitted that its origin were gynecological problems. So again, they're bringing it back to the womb. So it seems like people were sort of fighting in between this definition of hysteria. Felipe Pinel considered the diagnostic difficulties were associated with the numerous disorders and symptoms attached to it, so he defended the study of hysteria in its unattached or pure state. He included hysteria in his book, placing it in the group called neuroses. During this period, hysteria was a serious subject in medical schools and textbooks. So notice how the things that men believe sort of become this they sort of guide all these different things that we've learned throughout time about people, about illnesses and things like that. Imagine just the fact that these men believed that a womb caused these type of issues, like and it's numerous of them too. So in these medical schools that today we trust everything that they do and things like that. There's amazing innovations in the medical field, but at one point things were based solely off of gender, off of things that they surely weren't studying or really trying to understand. Empress Kia, how are you, girl? She says, "Wow, yeah. If you were here a couple minutes ago, you would like some of these definitions were insane, So feel free to catch some of the playback on this. It is ridiculous." During this period, hysteria was okay. Yeah, so. Some authors consider it to reflect psychological frustrations directly linked to the restricted role of women in society. No kidding. They don't discuss andropause at all. No, they don't at all. Is that something to do with men's bodies when they stop working? Because it seems that they're fixated on the woman's womb. It shouldn't be something to try to penalize, but it seems like that's exactly what they do most of the times. So Graysinger kept the view that hysteria was related to genital disorders and sexual frustration, but also involving morbid action of the brain. So there was some wicked thoughts going on there. In 1859, Pierre Briquet published his book presenting data from 430 hysterical patients collected in 10 years. He rejected the idea of the uterine origin of disease and considered it to be a neurosis of the brain in someone of the hysterical type. Briquet had a remarkable contribution for the development of HPD. He considered this type of personality traits as the ground for the development of the histrionic disorders. He introduced sociological and material concepts in the comprehension of hysteria, such as living and working conditions. The industrialization with the development of the trains and subsequent numerous traumatic accidents brought up the discussion about the hysteria in men. All right, so it took a few other things to happen in society before they started admitting that this type of disease was not at all it wasn't at all specific to women. It had nothing to do with just being connected to the womb. It was actually a hysterical disease that was characterized by, obviously, the things that we're going to get into, that specifically focused on actions, behaviors, traits, not anything of the gynecological. It had nothing to do with any organs in our in that area. So the fact that they even related something that has totally to do with personality and personality issues to the womb is a little interesting, right? We don't know where that comes from. Talking about here, kitty. They stayed lying. If the womb was that damn wicked, they sure do want it, right? It's weird that they spent as much time. Like, that's hundreds of years, right? We're in the 1800s now, but all that time before, it was spent being treated as this like disease of being too thirsty, or whatever you want to call it. Um, Empress Kia says, "What? Yes, it got very weird, and you guys will see in the modern definition why it's strange. But to call it something that was specific to women, it clearly couldn't continue to be said." Um, Between 1888 and 1900, hysteria was epidemic. Writers, doctors, and historians agreed to refer to the industrial social crisis like strike as a sign of the feminine convulsive nature, and frequently applied the terms hysteria and uterine furies to designate them. So basically, this is men be throwing out this insult like to women today, right? They would literally be like, "You and your dead womb," or some terrible thing like that. And I'm just like, reading this, it sounds exactly like what they were saying before. Like, you have these issues, you're angry, you're upset because it's something to do with your womb. Like, such a weird thing. And I think a lot of it has to do with some of that womb envy that bandits and men in general have. But let's continue. At the end of the 19th century, Salpêtrière Hospital acquired a remarkable importance on the study of hysteria and hypnotism due to the famous French neurologist Jean Martin Charcot, who created the study of diseases of the nervous system there in 1862. He had many remarkable collaborators such as Albert Pietris, Paul Richard, George Gilles de la Torte, and all these niggas, Sigmund Freud and Pierre Janet, creating the famous Salpêtrière School of Neurology. His interest on hysteria probably started after 1870 when Charcot took charge of the delusive service, a place where many epileptics and hysterics were admitted. So there was a lot of places that people were sent to treat based off of like some symptoms. I can get epileptic, right? There's those convulsive nature of it, but the hysterics, like, so does that mean that person was just dramatic, and so they say you can go over there? Yeah, they definitely want to bleed too. Cute. I think that's what it is. So it's a womb envy type of thing. But okay. So he considered two main forms of hysteria, with and without convulsions. The hysteroepilepsy, or Brande's crisis hysteria, were described as having four stages: epileptoid, acrobatic postures, emotional gestures, and final delirium. Charcot considered hysteria as a neurosis with an organic basis and described permanent clinical features in patients who were also prone to paraleptic fits, the stigmata, sensory dysfunction, hyperexcitability, and visual field narrowing. So there was a lot of weird traits that was sort of leading people to Kia. Why did I look over here and it said Sigmund was a cokehead? That was like the first sentence I read. I was like, that is hilarious. But Sigmund Freud was a cokehead, though I don't trust his work at all. He was high all the time. Well, I wonder if that's why they chose to just not basically say that there was no, like, or maybe that's why a lot of the theories that he's come up with, there's no like real applicability. Like, you can't repeat any of the stuff that he said in a study or anything like that. It was highly opinionated. So I wonder if that could be why that was. All right, so we've got a pretty decent history on histrionic disorder, right? I wanted to make sure that we sort of got to the origins of where these topics come from that we discuss. All right, so I'm going to pull up Dr. Ramani giving us a better example of what a histrionic person sort of behaves like. Like, what are we really seeing with these people? Give me 1 second. I'm over here trying to open something. All right. This is a interview that Dr. Ramani did with Med Circle, and I guess Med Circle covers a lot of different things, but specifically they cover psychiatric things, and she's an expert in all things personality, basically all of psychology. I believe she's a doctor of psychology or clinical psychologist. So let us talk to Dr. Ramani about this, and we will be stopping to discuss in between. All right.
Do you know anyone who's overly attention-seeking, overly theatrical, or the life of the party? Well, according to Dr. Ramani, that person could have histrionic personality disorder, or at the very least, histrionic traits. In this episode, you'll learn how to recognize the behaviors of the condition and how to cope with those behaviors. On the break, I said, this feels a lot like borderline personality disorder.
Very different.
And it's very different.
Very different.
So for a lot of our viewers have watched our series on borderline personality disorder. I really want to separate this for them.
Remember, borderline personality disorder, the dysregulated emotion, the emotions that shift rapidly, the real inner sense of torment. There is such a subjective sense of discomfort, the sense that they're going to be abandoned, and that's accompanied by a feeling of panic.
I got borderline personality disorder.
Right, that's borderline.
Yes, okay.
Okay? Now, where it can get confusing is that you might have an individual with borderline personality disorder who, in devaluing themselves so much and wanting so much to get into a relationship, they will be very sort of seductive and attention-seeking in their presentation, right? And they were hoping in that, looking like that, being like that, somebody won't leave them. So their motivation is not attention. It's to create this really all-encompassing union with somebody who won't leave them.
Yes.
And
Oof. All right. So before we get too deep into that, I want to make sure that we're also going to be looking at the side-by-side definition so you guys can sort of start to understand what a histrionic person looks like. All right. So I'm going to pull. Oh, I don't want to do that, actually. I'm going to. Oh, sorry, guys. All right. So let me go over to this tab instead. All right, so I want to describe what an actual histrionic personality disorder, because she's going to start describing how they sort of present, how you see them, how they treat others. Oh, can you guys see my screen? Okay, hold on. There's like a tiny bit of a delay, but I don't know if you guys can see. Oh, okay, here we go. Sorry. All right, so histrionic personality disorder is defined as the clinical syndrome in which people assume an interaction style that is marked by seductiveness, emotional shallowness, and dramatic behavior. Right. So again, what we kind of been seeing so far. Can you guys see my screen yet? Oh, okay. You should be able to see it now. But so pretty much what we have been seeing so far is this seductive nature to the person, right? Even though there's no conversations that are really happening that are meant to be, you know, like it's not like they're trying to hook up with somebody or anything. They're just having a conversation, and they have to have that sort of seductive touch. They have to be sort of plastering on this like seductive nature to their character, to even the way they speak, right? So that's why we sort of started seeing some of the dramatic ways, like the postures and everything. We saw her like she was literally sitting there with her chest. I'm gonna show you guys that one again really quickly so you guys can understand why I showed you those case studies, because the way it's described and the way that it might present itself is a little different, right? Let me show. Oh, real estate. What the? Oh, here we go. I'm gonna share this tab really quick so you guys can see again what this kind of presented like in a therapist's office, or a description, sort of like acting of what it presented like. And I don't think this is real, so.
Hello, Mrs. Haywell. How are you doing today?
Oh, please just call me Martha. You know what? I feel like I've known you for so long, like all my life. You know, we're well past the formalities.
From one visit.
Of course. I mean, we've grown so close.
That's a very nice outfit. Are you going out somewhere special tonight?
Oh, this? Oh, God. No, this whole thing, I just threw it on. It's what you call a quick grab out the closet. Would you like it? Don't I just look beautiful?
Yes, you look.
Doesn't he look handsome too?
Yes.
This is Marco. He was named after one of my past boyfriends.
All right, so I don't know if you guys kind of picked up on that, but the way she was carrying herself was out of place, right? It didn't really make too much, yeah, it didn't make too much sense in context. Like, she's at a therapist's office. Why is she wearing a low cut shirt? Why is she showing her breasts in the first place, right? It's just completely out of place, inappropriate, can make a lot of people feel uncomfortable. Yep, the cleavage. Definitely had the cleavage out. It was just strange, right? So that's the sort of how they're marked by. But they're also shallow and dramatic, right? Those are other sort of nasty qualities that you probably don't want to see in somebody, right? That's, especially they come across this way, they're always trying to be seductive. Now, the examples that we see are a little dramatic compared to probably what these people look like on the everyday. But it's supposed to give you a good idea of what that looks like. So the diagnostic criteria for HPD is a pervasive pattern of excessive emotionality and attention seeking that begins in early adulthood. Sounds like half of modern women. That is ridiculous. All right, that is ridiculous. Naming the dog after an ex-boyfriend, yeah, that's inappropriate too. Like, why would you even want to name your dog after an ex? Right? It just seems, it doesn't really have. It just seems like, why would you do that? Now, every time you talk about the dog, you're thinking of somebody you used to be with, somebody that you used to know, a lover. Cute kid was a seductive nature. Yeah, it's very weird, Empress. Most men are the same. Yeah, but the thing is, it's so normalized for some of these men, especially online, to be like super hypersexual. And I wonder if there's a lot of histrionic men on YouTube. All right, let's continue. So, it presents in a variety of contexts as indicated by having 5 or more of the following, right? So extreme discomfort in situations where he or she is not the center of attention. So imagine this person becomes super spastic, like when other people get an opportunity to speak, when other people are being praised for maybe what they've accomplished, when other people are being celebrated. Maybe somebody don't like is being celebrated. That makes them even the most uncomfortable, right? That's what this disorder is sort of characterized. Interactions with others that are often characterized by inappropriate sexual seductiveness or provocative behavior, right? You're at your therapist's office, you probably shouldn't be flashing your tits, right? You probably shouldn't have your breasts out. You probably shouldn't have wore something that looks like you're going out to a fancy date after, when you just put the outfit on to come see your therapist, right? Just sort of out of place, weird, and can make people uncomfortable. I can see them now mad. I see why BD don't have no one. Well, and I think that's the thing. It's the frustration. It's the in the historical meaning, there was a frustration there to abstinence. So I wonder if some of that is why there's that inappropriate sexual behavior. They have a rapidly shifting and shallow expression of emotions, so they might present themselves to be super. They try to present themselves to be like super empathetic and caring and respectful, and really they are not at all, right? They're not at all. They're usually doing things for a selfish purpose, and when you find out, you're sort of devastated because you realize the intentions there were never pure. Hypersexuality is pushed in the mainstream and normalized by society to a certain level. They push to accept everyone's sexuality and the associated behavior. Well, I don't think that's necessarily too much of it, but I do think that hypersexuality has gotten a little bit more out of control. And I say this as somebody who has watched Euphoria. That show used to make me very uncomfortable, especially the scenes with the lady, the girl, where she would meet up with that old man, and then he turned out to be her friend's dad. There's just so much to it that was very disturbing. So you now gossip, I have no one, and then laugh the thought someone doesn't have a companion. Yeah, he's definitely lonely. I'm sorry, Tiny Jaws. You'll find someone one day. You just have to work on your issues, you know? All right, let's continue. So, so five or more of those. Consistent use of physical appearance to draw attention to oneself, speech that is excessively impressionistic and lacks detail, and exhibits self-dramatization, theatricality, exaggerated expressions of emotions, and suggestibility. So they kind of have this weird way of being super dramatic and super like just sort of out there in terms of how they're presenting themselves. Everything is a joke. Not everything's a joke. Everything is like a dramatic expression. If they're upset, if they're happy, they have to overplay a lot of it. That's a big part of who they are there. All right. HPD is Okay, HPD is categorized again as a cluster B. It falls in that same category as narcissistic personality, borderline personality, and antisocial personality disorder, and obviously they have all those qualities in common. Patients with HPD often put significant time and energy into their attire in an attempt to impress others and gain their attention. So these people, whether they look good or not, they probably put a lot of effort into how they look, right? So they might wear the most name brand clothes. They must wear like a face full of makeup or toupee if they're bald, right? Or a hairpiece or a sprayed on hairline because they really, really are attached to and they get their self-esteem from the way they look. That's the unfortunate part for this personality type. All right. A core aspect of cluster B personalities is maladaptation in response to post-traumatic events or lack of emotional development during sensitive periods of their life. It has long been shown that personality disorders can be influenced by parenting style and by the patient's attachments to their parents during infancy. So, although we don't like to sort of try to blame parents or anything for how people turn out, a lot of the times, unfortunately, it seems that parenting style and whether or not there was a healthy attachment going on between the parent and child, that had a big influence on if some of these personality disorders were developed, I could say. Right? Obviously, we're not going to sit here and say everything that, parents just sort of create personality disorders and that's what we get here. Not necessarily, but it definitely can have an influence on your personality. And whether or not you develop a personality disorder. It's a cluster of it all. Excessive validation, yeah, they definitely need that. They need people to see them. That's why when they go in a room, they want to be the center of attention, right? And in order for that to happen, they sort of have to put a significant amount of energy into what they look like in order to even garner that, if that's what they're looking for. To have the conversation, to have my thoughts challenged. If you need for everyone to always agree with you, you need excessive validation from others. That is not right, actually. But I think you have an excessive need to come in and let people know that you're upset and that you don't agree and all this weird stuff. Just listen to the material. I'm reading professional opinions. I'm not actually trying to just tell you guys shit that comes out of my brain. So for me, it's like, okay, so you need excessive validation. You need people to accept your critiques and whatever wearing them shit that you're talking about in the chat. So let's stay on topic. Yeah, exactly, Miss Jalen. I think that's what we have to do going forward. Like, just let him talk to himself in the chat. Don't time him out and let him just sit there and tell himself all the stories that he's telling himself. For them to push parenting like they do not have an instructions book. Yeah, that's the thing. Nobody does, right? We don't have an instruction book on how to live, on how to be our best self. We're sort of just given some tools that we're told that are going to be our best bet. So I think with parenting, it's the same thing. So that's why I believe that's why they were saying that it has some influence, but it's not a direct correlation. So it is believed that the upbringing of those with APD combined with the natural inclination to a personality disorder can predispose them to HPD. For this reason, parents' childhood, infancy, relationships with parents, and close family members should be explored by the APRN. Specific parenting styles that influence HPD may be those that lack boundaries or were emotionally inconsistent. Individuals who whose parents exhibited dramatic, erratic, volatile, or inappropriate sexual behavior also put their offspring at risk for the high development of at high risk for the development of HPD. An assessment should also include a more in-depth assessment of the individual's current interpersonal relationship, as they may still have notable difficulty in achieving intimacy with romantic and sexual relationships, as well as within friendships. Right, so there's a lack of, where the same way that antisocial personality disorder has that inability to feel, that lack of empathy. I think that's sort of what we see here with HPD. Like, there's an inability to be deep. They're not able to be intimate with people because they lack feeling in some ways, right? There's no depth to their emotions. They sort of do things on a surface level. And so if you see a lot of people who are very surface level, it might appear like they're doing all these good things for people. It might appear like they care about helping others, but beneath the surface, a lot of what they're doing is just for show, right? And when it's that way, there isn't a lot of patience in understanding beneath the surface. All right, so relationship losses are common in HPD because their partners feel overwhelmed with the emotional manipulation of seductiveness and dependency, demands for constant attention and sensitivity to others' feelings with regard to provocative interpersonal style, and poor insight into their personal role in the termination of relationships. So it seems like they're just sort of going around everywhere, treating their relationships and people in this sort of seductive manner. So even though they might be committed to someone, married to them, they'll kind of carry themselves in a way that's more so seeking attention to validate themselves. So let's go back to Dr. Ramani, because she does a great job talking about histrionic personality disorder and sort of describing how these people come across. So let's continue.
There's this chronic sense of panic. A person with histrionic personality disorder is not experiencing that torment, that panic, that fear of abandonment. They would be very uncomfortable if they were alone. People with histrionic personality disorder need an audience. People with borderline personality disorder need a partner.
Yes, I got it when on the break when you said, Kyle, if you weren't giving me attention, I'll just go over here and get it from
Yes,
somebody
if I
else.
would, yes,
I don't
yes.
have to.
It's yours. Yes,
For histrionic personality.
For histrionic personality, like I said, that's the idea of an audience. I don't care who's in the audience, as long as all eyes are on me. There may be someone in that audience I like a little better, but there's probably a few of them. For the person with borderline personality, they very much cathect, or they really get focused on that one person, their person. And it's like a mother. Right? So and that's a lot of what we look at the earlier theoretical writings on borderline personality. It's about that there's something very interrupted in that early attachment of some kind. Histrionic personality likely has some of that attachment issue, but it's not with the depth and the torment. This is where, to me, borderline personality disorder clinically, it's such an important to understand disorder or pattern because of how much torment the person's experiencing. They're in a lot of inner pain. Right. I think a person with histrionic personality can get hurt if people are pushed back on it or are rejecting of them, but it won't be that, literally suicidal pain that person has.
If I get rejected, there's an amount of hurt to it.
There's hurt, right. That's hurt, normal. That's normal.
Right.
But you always want to look in any psychiatric pattern. You want to think also in terms of motivations. At least that's how I look at it. And with the personality patterns in particular, what are some of the motivators here? What are the key traits that are sort of playing out? And so it's different. This is really about getting attention. And then it's almost like you only exist by your audience. Like the more audience you've got.
Ooh, sorry, I'm over here talking with the thing on mute. But yeah, pretty much here, and they're comparing it to borderline personality only because they're in the same cluster of disorders, and they also have similar traits, right? So histrionic person, yes, they need that not audience, they need to be seen. Versus someone who's borderline, they want somebody. They're attached to some person, that kind of attention sounds scary. Yeah, it sounds scary, and it sounds dangerous, Empress, because that person needs to be fed, right? No matter who they're with, they need that attention, and one person is not going to be able to give it. One person will be tired after 3 seconds. you know? All right, so back here, you were saying here. So yeah, histrionic needs needs an audience, and borderline needs a partner. All right. So again, anyways, I'm not gonna come. For those of you who like to come in here and do this, right? Try to act like a general discussion is a some display of somebody feeling personal or whatever. These are general conversations, right? You are not qualified to diagnose even a crumb of butt cheek juice, right? But you're somehow going to say, dark disorder involves fragile self-esteem and heightened sensitivity. What critique is there towards me if I'm reading somebody else's opinion? What critique is there towards me if I'm reading somebody else's opinion? But you guys learn words and then you try to weaponize them right away. It's like you guys are not even worth having a discussion with. You guys can't have constructive conversations because things always go back to personal attacks or whatever the hell it is that you guys feel like doing in a moment. This is a general discussion. I'm reading research. I'm listening to a mental health professional, a licensed physician. And you guys try to just sit still and listen if you don't have anything of benefit to contribute to the conversation. These conversations are not to make anybody feel like they're histrionic. Now, if you feel like what's being described here is describing you, then I'm sorry. Seek treatment. But stop coming in here trying to make regular general discussions into you guys' personal issues. All right? Whether it be with me, whatever other situation you saw on YouTube, just come listen and shh. Right? These professionals and these intellectuals here have done a lot of research on it. Dr. Ramani has done a lot of research on a lot of personalities, especially the ones adjacent to narcissistic personality disorder. So let's continue.
The more you exist. It's a bit of an existential conundrum.
Let's go right into the diagnostic criteria for histrionic personality disorder. The first one we've talked about it, center of attention.
Yeah.
And how does this manifest itself?
They'll do whatever they need to do to get that attention, whether it's usually it's their appearance. 9 times out of 10, it's their appearance, and it's they often take very good care of themselves. They go to the gym and they work out. They might get cosmetic surgeries or modifications. They're very careful with.
Now, here's the issue with what you're doing or what you're trying to do, Natasha, is that you are not a mental health professional. And when I have these discussions here, sorry, I'm trying to put your comment up, I specifically say, even somebody with as much knowledge that I have, that I've learned throughout my time learning about this subject matter, not even I can be qualified to diagnose anybody. But you guys come into these conversations, you offer nothing but just running your mouths. And then you'd say, oh, you're just taking everything as an attack. Why don't you come in and stick to the conversation, stick to the topic? But you guys can't do that. They're very weird, Empress. They're not capable of having a mature discussion. Everything has to turn into high school. Imagine being sitting in a college class with some of these remedial ass people. Imagine. Oh, you talk about psychiatric disorders because you crazy. Well, some of you people are unbelievable. But let's continue.
Their appearance, they may dress very seductively or very expensively, but whatever they do, they're going to make sure all eyes are on them. It may be also how they talk about themselves. They may talk about, oh, my celebrity friend this, or I just came back from this grand adventure there, and they will exaggerate the truth a little bit to make sure their story is the biggest and the best story.
Is this done consciously?
Yeah, I mean, they want to make sure they're getting attention. So if just the way they're dressed isn't working, then they're definitely going to tell the story in a way that they keep ensuring the eyes are on them.
The second one is being sexually seductive.
Yes.
How does that look?
So that links into that first one, right? The way to get attention is to be seductive. But again, it's almost like a win, right? If, most people are, we're not going to be ultra seductive, but a lot of it is, if it may not just be their style of dress, it's also going to be in how they talk about things. That they're going to be, almost talk about things that are moderately inappropriate, talk about sexual things, be very sort of, flirty in how they talk, that's definitely going to get you attention, and they're sort of equal opportunity flirters. They'll flirt with men, women, regardless of their sexual orientation. So, and then that way they really can own a room and get a lot of attention for that. So yeah, they're very, and it is, I would say, of all of the disorders we will ever hear about in med circle, the most seductive.
This is the most seductive.
This is the most seductive
This
in
is
terms of how
seduction
they
disorder.
present themselves. It is a seduction disorder.
And if they are married, it doesn't
It's
keep
messy.
them from
Oh, heck no.
getting
Oh,
attention
no.
from a stranger.
And it can really be, I mean, I've worked with couples like this where the one would say, this is kind of uncomfortable, like I think my wife.
Sorry, guys. Restream is a little weird. When I click something over here on my computer, it will hide somebody. So I'm sorry about that, Kiki. I was trying to highlight your comment and say hello, which it is on screen, but I accidentally hid you. So I unhid you and gave you your wrench back. I don't know why I was doing that. But let's continue, guys.
I think my wife's gorgeous, but it's hard when like everyone's eyes are kind of popping out over her because she's dressed in this way, and so it's kind of a mixed blessing, if you will. And so there is that, because it's not like they're being humble about it. Like that person's working it.
Thank you.
No, they're working it. They're out.
Now, there are plenty of spouses who love when their spouse is the center of attention.
Great.
So, could two people who have histrionic personalities be really compatible that way?
I think at some point there's just going to be way too much air in the room. Like, it's just too much. The only reason it could potentially work is they're never really going to talk about much. It's going to really be kind of, and maybe neither one will be bothered by the superficiality of it all.
Right.
But I will tell you this, in no couple, about much.
So I'm just rewinding because I wanted you guys to hear, and thank you, Lana. That's exactly the point, right? That's what I'm just like, I don't get what people are trying to imply when they come in here saying some of this stuff. At the end of the day, nothing that I talk about in terms of these subjects is going to be my personal opinion. I might tell you guys how I feel about what we're reading, but when you have to do a discussion that's based on fact, you cannot be here giving your opinion. So I don't really get I really don't get what you guys are trying to do with some of the weird comments and everything. Just try to be here for a discussion or don't be here. I'd rather have nobody here than have people who come here to be disruptive and disrespectful or to make personal attacks on people. It doesn't make it fun. Kiki Star says, one of the most interesting things I've heard her say is there's no cure for narcissism. There isn't. There isn't, because a lot of it is how they choose to be. It's just part of their nature. To some degree, when it comes down to how they treat people and things like that. And some people, the biggest thing is that most of them aren't going to get treatment. Most of them aren't going to think it's important to go and seek treatment. There's no medication for narcissism, right? You can't treat a grandiose sense of self with fluoxetine or anything like that. Those type of things aren't really going to help somebody with a trait disorder, like a personality disorder. You know what I mean? So it's a little difficult. It may be a battle for attention. Yeah, I think that's what's going on, Lana Love. I think they want that to sort of like to be seen, known for their seductivity, right? Because there seems to be a big part of it is the seduction and the sexual nature of their aura, you can say, right? Like they carry themselves in a very seductive, in a sexual way, which even if they're just in a regular, conversation or context, they'll still be carrying themselves that way. That's what makes it weird. All right, let's continue.
There are plenty of spouses who love when their spouse is the center of attention.
Great.
So, could two people who have histrionic personalities be really compatible that way?
I think at some point there's just going to be way too much air in the room. Like, it's just too much. The only reason it could potentially work is they're never really going to talk about much. It's going to really be kind of, and maybe neither one would be bothered by the superficiality of it all.
Right.
But I will tell you this, in no couple is it ever going to be even, and the day one person's getting more attention than the other, all hell's going to break loose. So because it's never, and this is where, like, for example, if you have two stars in a relationship, if one person's star is going up and the other one's not getting so many of the A-list gigs, that's going to cause friction. That's an example of what happens when two histrionic individuals get into a relationship.
Fascinating. Number 3 is shifting emotions.
Yes.
This is the one that made me think, oh, this is like borderline personality.
The shifting emotions is sort of that one overlap trait that can give it some resemblance to a borderline personality pattern. By shifting emotions, because their emotion is so shallow, it can quickly go to meet whatever is happening in the room. An example I've used, maybe a lot of our viewers.
You know, this reminds me of some of these bandits that we see online, where they'll be like in the middle of a regular panel and then they just go from like having a conversation to like jumping out of their skin and cussing and acting a damn fool. This reminds me of that shift, right? Where they literally will shift to meet whatever environment that they feel like they're in, and they'll shift quickly, rapidly. Their emotions will go from here to there, right? So I think I've seen a lot of that online and how some people interact with others. So again, is this familiar? Does this seem like something maybe we have seen a lot online? We've seen a lot with people that we know, but we minimize it? Or is this really a very, very, very small percentage of people in society? So let's continue.
Viewers won't get this because they don't live in Los Angeles. The weather in Los Angeles is histrionic. Well, a hot day, it'll still get cool at night because the way our weather is, it just doesn't hold it. It lacks depth because there's no humidity. It's like they don't have humidity. They will be with a friend who's kind of having a tough day, and they're able to be there and nod wisely. God, that sounds so hard. Yeah, I'm so sorry. And they'll be a little pouty. But then someone comes in the room whose attention they may like more, who's cheerful, and they'll pop right into cheerful. So they'll be, Kyle, I'm so sorry. Hey, how what? And that's not normal. That's the shift. It's the shift in response. Whereas in a person with borderline personality, that shift is happening internally. There's nothing in the environment. You're like, why did that just happen? But for a person with histrionic personality, that shift is often in response to the external stimuli and demands in their environment.
We've talked about the next one a lot, physical appearance. They look good physically.
They look good. They do, but the thing is, they invest so much time. Like, these are the people who are going to the gym because this is how they get attention. And even at the gym, they go to the gym in full hair and makeup. They spend more on their workout clothes than I think that I once upon a time did on a wedding dress. Right. I mean, like, it's like the $500 exercise ensemble, and they look fantastic at the gym. Everyone is staring at them, and it's like they're like a peacock on the treadmill, because
I used to go to a really expensive gym, and because I'm basketball shorts and a t-shirt, right? And then I'm looking around, I go, I have to get it together if I'm gonna go here.
So
I have to go to a pre-gym. So I'm acceptable enough to go to the real gym.
The Showtime gym. Very much physical appearance matters. And not only do they overvalue it in themselves, they overvalue it in other people.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So go into more detail.
So they may not want a friend that's kind of frumpy or not well put together. This is the person who will reject.
So I see a lot of that, I would say, in like, it's weird that they say this is how adults would be. Empress says, I know people like this. Me too. That's the crazy part. Like, at first when I read the definition, I was like, this seems so far removed from like a regular person, right? Especially when you see those case studies and things where they're presenting themselves as having, or they're trying to present somebody who has histrionic personality, and it seems so outlandish. But when you hear these descriptions of people, you can almost always think of a lady or a dude. You're like, Like, I know a person who acts like that. They really will carry themselves this way, and it makes everyone uncomfortable, but that's just how they are. That's how they've been, right? So that's the interesting part about this one that I was listening to.
Check the bridesmaid for not being a size 8 or under.
And especially when it comes to not accept, like, wanting people to present a certain way. Like, I've seen people who they will pick friends based off aesthetic. And the people who become friends with those people, I just be looking at them like, you have no idea what you're in for, because this person is shallow they don't really care about other people or what they're going through. They more so care about what that person does for their image. And this is similar to the narc, right? Where the narc is grandiose and has all these views of themselves. This person wants to view, they view everyone as needing to present, like they have to present themselves the best way, and they want everyone around them to do the same thing. Don't have to wait on them to get ready. Listen, they will be ready and they will be snatched ready for the next event. Like, that's just how they are. They need to look good, but they also need you to look good. They need you to present yourself the same way, be as anxious about how you look. It's just part of their nature in needing to be seen, right? You would see these people wanting to be a trophy wife, right? Or this will be a guy who wants to have a lady on his arm that is the best looking woman in the tri-state area, right? Because that will feed his ego, and it will have people giving him all the attention that he wants. In fact, they love to string you along so they can get free drinks. Well, you're crazy. All right, let's continue.
It's that, like, my wedding is going to look a certain way, so here's your diet, and I expect you to fit this dress, or maybe we'll have you do a reading.
Being a good person, is that important?
Yeah, that's the thing, Kiki. It can easily be dismissed as like, oh, this person's just self-centered. They're just a jerkwad. This person is just like a total tool or whatever. But they're actually have a dysfunction in how they view themselves, how they view other people. Is all based on image. And I think of those jocks or those dudes in there, those 30-year-old dudes who they just have the perfect body. Their girlfriend has a perfect shit, literally they look like a magazine or an ad. Oh, I have a what? I have another live stream going where? I don't see it. I don't see it. They get mad when I come to an event in a hoodie, my head wrapped in sweats. I was chewed out. Yeah, because for them, it's about how you look, right? They don't really, and I'm not saying this about your person, but a person with histrionic disorder, this personality disorder, it's about how you look, right? How you look is a direct reflection of them, to them, To them, how you present yourself, how you come across, it correlates with how they feel about themselves. And how they feel like other people are viewing them. So I'm not really sure though, Jalen. I think that's a YouTube glitch. It was happening earlier today where it was like literally coming across like I had two live streams going at the same time. So I'm really not sure what that is. I don't see it on my end. I do see it looks like there's another video that's showing like views are happening, but it says it happened 10 hours ago. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. I'm sorry. I think YouTube is having a fart. Oh, that live is supposed to start at 10. That live didn't start yet. Yeah, that one's supposed to start at 10, but like I was kind of letting people know a little bit earlier in the stream is that it probably can't. It's called Tinder speed dating. Okay, cute kid word. Don't get discouraged just yet. I'm gonna reschedule that to next year, next week, or maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure. I'm gonna do unschedule. Okay. Edit event. That's what I'm gonna do. September. You have another event at this time. Try rescheduling this. So yeah, I'll do it. Maybe I'll do it at tomorrow at 8:00. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, I think that might be YouTube just glitching. I'm sorry, because honestly, yesterday it happened to me while I was trying to live stream. Like I had a live stream going, and then it had a whole other one going at the same time somewhere else. I have no idea, but just ignore that. I rescheduled it for tomorrow, so that should look better. QQ, I came to eat. The food was good. My friends were embarrassed. They were dressed up doing TikTok videos and all. Oh, Lord. Empress, how old are you? TikTok videos? I get a little disturbed when I see older folks doing them TikTok challenges. And so I'm like, you guys need to, unless you are a monetized TikToker, like, let's just not. Lana says, I think I know someone who is a little bit like that when it comes to outward appearances, but not excessive. Yeah, I don't even know that it has to be excessive per se, right? Because I truly think a lot of what we would perceive as being excessive would kind of fall under like doing too much, right? I think histrionic is on a scale, is on like a spectrum, right? There could be people who are extremely histrionic, meaning they're super dramatic, super seductive, super whatever, or super like worried about their outward appearance. And there's probably people who are seductive, but they're not like too forceful about it. They're not too focused on the seductivity. They're more focused on how they look, right? Looking good. Jalen said, I don't do TikTok. Miss Jalen said, I don't even do TikTok at all. Yeah. Yeah, I think he is. I think he's standing next to the internet. What is wrong with older folks having fun? Why are you a hater, low flow? Okay, sir. Let's continue.
To them? In somebody else?
No,
No.
not as much.
It's more about status, physical appearance, what you can do for them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What about speech style?
Speech style is interesting. It's what we call that. The way we describe it diagnostically. It's highly impressionistic and it lacks detail. Okay. What that means is they say a lot of words, but they don't say anything. So. Yeah, I'm sort of feeling this energetic movement. There's a rise in me. I'm just trying to do me and feel it out and find me, doing me, loving me. And you're like,
What are you
oh,
talking about? Yeah.
wow, what is that? Like, and so there is there's not a lot of there. And you'll see this in people sometimes who are oversubscribed to sort of certain like healing communities, and like there's just what are you trying to do, and they're not able to clearly articulate a goal, an outcome, a process. Like if you're trying to get something done, this is not the person you want on your team. They'll talk very ephemerally about stuff, but there's not. So it's superficial. Right? They cannot speak deeply because they do not really feel deeply. So it is this sort of, again, this style that's impressionistic.
So I'm understanding it. The speech pattern of this vagueness.
It's vagueness, exactly.
Comes from the fact that they don't feel deeply.
Yeah, they're not connected to that. Because they're not clear on their motives. You've got to remember this with a person with most cluster B personality disorders, as we've talked about.
Yeah, we need to redefine cluster B for them.
So cluster B personality disorders are personality patterns that are characterized by dramatic, erratic, emotional behavior, and very few of those patterns do the people have any insight. They lack insight. And this means narcissistic, borderline, antisocial, and as we're talking about now, histrionic. But they're very unclear on their own motivations. They just don't know what they are. They're not even clear why they're doing what they're doing. Because what they're not able to do is say, hey, the only thing that matters to me is everyone thinks I'm the hottest chick in the room. And who's going to say that, right? Because even they have enough insight to know that's not what you're supposed to say. And they're not in touch with that motive. So when you're not in touch with your motivations, you're not actually able to speak or behave clearly.
So if they were running a business, and you said, what's your goal for next year?
I want to be the best cupcake store in Los Angeles.
And they're like, how are you going to do that?
We're posting on Instagram. We have a new chocolate cupcake.
Yeah, just.
It's very they'll have these, and many times the kinds of businesses they're running are very much cupcakey, very superficially, like cosmetics and accessories. I'm not saying those aren't important things.
Course,
I know they matter to the people who make them, but they are very, they're not trying to build carburetors.
Right.
Okay? So it's very much that kind of like showy sort of a business. And so what they're like, we're going to put it on Instagram, and maybe I can get that billboard, and I'm going to try a new recipe, or this is going to be pink. That's not a goal. So it's almost like when a child makes a lemonade stand. It can often have have that sort of like childlike motivation to it. But it can get confusing if you're talking to them because you're like, what are they saying? I don't understand what their point is. And you might actually misinterpret it as being deep. You know, like, ooh, they're talking about all this energy and stuff, and you're like,
Got it.
yeah. But instead, you just really say, come out and say, like, what are you saying?
I'm so fascinated by the speech part of it.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
very
it's because
vague.
it's probably a quicker way to. I mean, all these are really fast: center of attention, sexually seductive, shifting emotions, physical appearance, speech out. They're all surfacey already. All of these traits.
Yep. Yeah.
Dramatic behaviors.
Dramatic behavior. So this would be like these are people who wear capes and feathered boas.
What's wrong with a cape and a feather boa?
I don't
Not
mean for
one
Trader Joe's.
thing.
You know, like there's a time and a place. So they definitely are very theatrical, and there's a lot of, you feel like you're in a Wagner opera. Like there's a lot of emotion, and what do you mean there aren't enough candles? We must have 82 on the cake.
Yeah.
There's a lot of this like operatic.
Can you please turn everything she just did into a GIF? Internet, I need to see all of that as much as possible. So they're very dramatic.
Very dramatic. It's like it's like performance art when they come to your house.
Okay, so let me tell you this story. I do so many of these interviews, I've exhausted my.
And that again, these are like traits that you could easily just think of somebody like eccentric that or just someone super self-involved, like in terms of their image. This could be anybody. Like you can see a lot of people like this. So even though she's accentuating the drama in people, just think about how many people's whole careers and everything that they do especially that gets online, it's all connected to that way of carrying themselves. So in some ways, these type of personality types can actually be incentivized, right? Because if you pay a lot of attention to your looks, then you can fit into certain environments, certain careers, right? If you're in very good shape, dress well, look well, you can find yourself amongst high ranks of people, whatever, which is what's going to feed you, right? If you're fed by the attention, then you might chase, and that chasing those big things, they have a really good benefit to it. Think about celebrities and actors and things like that. They were a little bit earlier talking about how some of these personality types together wouldn't work because they would just be trying to outdo themselves. And then think about, for example, somebody who's a celebrity getting married to somebody normal, right? That would be a perfect balance, right? Because the person they're married to isn't used to all the glamour and the glitz, but they're getting all that attention that they need being in the industry when they're acting, modeling, and their partner is actually proud of it because they don't need that attention for themselves, right? But she also talks about this personality type getting with a narc and how that kind of turns out. So we might be able to get to that depending on how long. And we're almost at 2 hours, so I don't want to do 4 hours and then have you guys be like, it's so late. Like we're just talking about mental health disorders, as important as they are. Also, guys, I want to do a moment of silence for, it is National Suicide Prevention Month, Self-Deletion Prevention Month, in awareness. So I just wanted to make sure that people understand that these issues, even though we might have funny scenarios and be joking around, issues of your mental health status are very important. Don't ignore them. Right? Just like you can be sick with a cold, you can be sick with a mental illness. And the sooner you treat it, the less likely you have of getting sicker, of continuing to harbor feelings that can eventually lead to devastating things. All right. So make sure you guys are reaching out. Don't be afraid to speak to somebody about what you're feeling. You don't have to choke in or choke down your feelings. You can speak to somebody. You can seek treatment. You can seek help. It's not funny. We all go through it, right? A lot of times we think these disorders are so crazy, but then we hear what they are and how they might present themselves. And we're like, I recognize people like that, right? I recognize it. And so many people go without treatment, without help, because they think mental illness is this outlandish, thing. Like somebody's crazy, like they're out of their mind. No, somebody's suffering. And if you're suffering, make sure you guys contact the suicide hotline I will link that in the chat. Just for awareness, it is the month. And I'm going to continue to do these subject matter um, regardless of what month it is, but just wanted to share that with you guys since it is the current month for that. All right, so let me put that in the chat really quickly and we will continue the discussion. Oh, darn. That's the wrong thing. Let me get rid of that. Sorry, y'all. For some reason, they put a video that I had in the chat. Oh my Lord. Sorry, guys. Just ignore it. That link is a link to BPD. I'm going to put the actual link to the suicide hotline in the chat. Just give me 1 second. I believe there's a... Oop. You guys seen that? Scared me. All right, so there's that. And I'm also going to... I think it's 988. So, yeah, it looks like the number that you can call is 988. All right. So I just wanted to take a quick moment to discuss that, and then we can get back to the subject matter. Because this stuff is very important. What we read about won't always be a diagnosis that you can imagine, but this is things that people suffer from. So let's continue.
My wardrobe, okay? Like I don't have enough clothes.
You and me both.
So I go and I'm looking online. Another friend who's on camera, he sends me this website, and all of the clothes are pretty extravagant. And there's this one like pink furry shirt jacket, and I sent it to him as a joke, like, wouldn't this be appropriate for me sitting down? And he goes, oh yeah, you should get that. I go, no, there's no way I could wear that.
That's histrionic clothing.
But there's a part of me though that would. Like, not for this, but if a friend was having a birthday, I'm like, I'm gonna wear this.
That's fun. Okay, but see, then the pink jacket, but if you expected people to attend, like, let's say it wasn't a pink jacket party. You know, like it was a state affair, like a brunch at a high-end hotel, and you show up in your pink jacket, or you wore the pink jacket to a funeral where people weren't dressing like that. Like it would show a lack of insight that you, like, what are you trying to show? But it's big gestures. They'll show up to a baby shower with a gift that's like 7 feet tall. That's preceding that. They'll roll it in on a carriage. Like their gifts are big, their gestures are big, exciting, dramatic, and you'll often feel almost overwhelmed by it all. And sometimes people feel guilty, like, oh my God, they're giving me a 7-foot present. I should be nicer about this.
Okay, and everyone, sometimes I just have to laugh, okay? It's a lot of mental health to take in every week. It's because I'm laughing because I know these people.
Right.
I know
we
this.
All do.
I know. I'm literally thinking of this one woman. I go, I didn't know before, but now I know.
We all do, and when we talk about how to manage it, I do have. It's a very compassionate take on it. You know,
good. Mm-hmm. Suggestibility.
Yeah. So I mean, these are the people who go in for the sucker bet every single time. It's very easy to convince them of magical things. In this way, they're dangerously vulnerable to things like cults or organizations that are trying to recruit members that almost like have a pyramid scheme feel to them. Mm-hmm. They're
right. So this one stood out to me. Right. So histrionic people are also suggestible, right? Which it makes it very difficult. I think of some of those people in those nature boy cults and all those different cults that have been emerging lately, and you sort of look at them and you're just trying to figure out why they're so attached to this person, you know, what it is. And there's a lot of like bravado. There's a lot of like trying to present yourself. Like Nature Boy was about like the not showering, not washing your kitty cat and your boom boom, right? Wearing those outfits that were very like chauvinist in a way. So I think, you know, it's clear that there's something going on with those people, and it shows how important it is, especially if you're someone or you know someone suffering from this, that you encourage them to get treatment, because they can be a danger to themselves too, right? They can probably get themselves into a whirlwind of trouble with that. You know, imagine some of these people online talking to strangers online and falling for some of these, cult things that they're trying to do, right? Trying to get people to fall for what it is that they're trying to sell, and then those people become victim to these types, right? To these schemes almost. So I think what she's speaking about is really scary, right? This means that these people have a high likelihood of being manipulated, right? Just because of the nature of how they view things and what they're trying to do, they might just very well fall into a strange situation. Q said demure. You guys are silly. Let's continue.
They'll buy whatever you're selling. They could be drawn into sort of fringe religious communities, that kind of thing. They're very, again, there's an innocence to them.
You mentioned timeshares.
Any kind of a
about all
bad
these
investment.
multi-level
Oh, heck yeah. Histrionic people fall for that in a second. Like, you're going to get to go on a cruise with all of your other cosmetic selling friends.
Yeah.
It's culty. They're drawn to that kind of stuff, and because they're suggestible, just like a child would be. And think about it, a child is still learning their emotional depth. That's why we can trick them into Santa Claus and tooth fairies and all of those fantasies. They're still impressionable. As they get a greater capacity for critical thinking, the child tends to reject that on their own. I've noticed that by and large, many people with histrionic personality disorder lack as much of a capacity for critical thinking as would be expected for someone at their stage, so that they'll fall for conspiracy theories online, they'll fall for ridiculous bargains online, and that can put them in trouble financially. They can put themselves at harm or risk, give away their information, waste time, waste money.
So the person who gets an email from the prince of some African country.
Maybe not. You know what? Their suggestibility is often happens in a self-serving way. It could be the African country. Look, someone wants to give me $1 million, but it can also be like, let's go back to that vague kind of style of speech. These people are going to help me harness all my inner energy and let my demons go so I can love.
That's exactly who
I don't know. What is that? Like, what group is this? And they're asking you 10 grand for that? For 10 grand, I'll do that for you too.
Right, yeah.
And so there is this sense of getting drawn into schemes and a lot of people take advantage of that. Like it's almost like you can see them coming in. Their eyes are a little wider. They're more vulnerable to that. They don't think critically because there's almost a childlike quality to this.
The last one is overestimation of intimacy.
Yes.
What is that?
Yeah. The overestimation of intimacy one is a very interesting one, especially in our modern times. They think a relationship is much closer than it really is. They'll meet someone at a party, they'll exchange numbers, whether intimately or as friends, and they'll think we're best friends. So like the next day, it's like, hey, love meeting you last night, coffee, 3 o'clock? Or they'll get your address and all of a sudden you're getting gifts from them. They'll, in conversation with other people, they'll talk about you as though you are their best friend. They'll go on a date, they'll call the person their boyfriend. So there's this fast forward, and it's interesting, this dynamic can also play out, let's say they meet someone famous. I love famous people. They meet someone famous in, I don't know, a bar or a club or an airport or hotel or something, and then they'll say, oh gosh, me and such are friends now. And they might even have a photograph they put on social media. So there's this assumed intimacy that isn't there, which can actually be a little destabilizing for you who now thinks like, why is this person asking me to have coffee with them? Like, we just happen to like the same book,
right?
And so now all of a sudden.
Call Me Queen says, I had a coworker who had this disorder. I knew something was wrong with her after our first 2 interactions. She was super manipulative. Got my entire department fired along with others in the company. Jesus. And you see, so right, in the one sense, they can be very susceptible, manipulative, whatever. And in the other sense, they can be a danger to other people. And that's the conundrum that comes with mental illness, that it's not necessarily that they lack accountability, right? They know what they're doing. They're very conscious of how they're behaving, but their motivations, the fact that they're motivated by insecurities and things that are sort of painful to them is what makes it a disorder. So it's not that the person doesn't have awareness of their actions, it's that their actions are motivated by insecurities and other things that they barely have control over those types of things. So there's accountability there still, obviously, because they're not blameless in their actions, but their actions are motivated by things by internal suffering, we should say. Kiki Star said Nature Boy would spend hours saying a whole lot of nothing. And notice how Nature Boy needed to live stream the humiliation that he did to those women. Right, he needed to get up there and show how he was talking to the women, how he was talking to the men. He would live stream for hours, and there would be weird dynamics going on when he would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna take this woman's wife, or I'm gonna take this man's wife, I'm gonna take this man's whatever," and he would do it online in front of an audience. He didn't care, like he didn't really care that some people were saying, "Oh, what the hell is wrong with you? What are you doing? This is weird. This seems culty." Like he didn't care. He needed to be seen. In the depths of him, he needed to be seen. That's why he ended up actually even getting like arrested and prosecuted, because he did everything online. He needed the world to see him. Now, whether or not the world's seen him is up for debate, right? The whole world hasn't seen everything on YouTube, but the fact that he had so many people from around the world seeing how he was treating those people, I think he was definitely a very dangerous version of a histrionic. Maybe he had other things. I can't diagnose anybody, but he gives me a great. I can see that in him, right? Needing to be seen, and he was in good shape. Remember, he was always had his body out. He had those suits on with his abs showing, and then the little leaf. Always talking about his peen size and things like that. So there's where the hypersexuality sort of comes in as well. And he was a man, right? He would have those flash mood swings right on camera. We saw it all being recorded live. So we're sort of getting some examples here now. We can relate a lot of what we're seeing online, all the different personalities that come to a platform like YouTube. We start to see some of these things come alive for us, right, as examples. So I don't know if anybody has actually watched, or any professionals have watched Nature Boy and they try to like diagnose something that he did. Some of these things are very small scale, meaning like everybody doesn't know about them. Like they weren't trending on Instagram for that long. Yes, I said little lettuce, and I meant that little lettuce, because he was always trying to brag about his private parts. And then, when people would come out and do those exposés with him, that's why I say his followers, some of them were probably histrionic as well. His followers had to come out and blast him, and they would constantly be talking about things that he bragged about, like his member size and all of those things. But there's definitely a chauvinist, like needing an audience, that you kind of see in Nature Boy, that sort of describes some of this histrionic behavior that we're hearing about here, and especially because of the sexual nature of it, right? Like not wanting to shower, him sleeping with everybody's wife, like as a way of like imposing himself on people. It's a lot of inappropriate, like sexual tendencies there with him that kind of just scream histrionic, but like at the worst level. Maybe some other stuff in there too, like narcissistic personality, but that's neither here nor there. Let's continue.
Sudden, they'll keep texting you and saying, "Hey, you want to hang out? You want to do this? You want to do that?" It's as though they're misreading the situation, because again, that's very superficial to them. "Hey, you gave me your phone number. We must be friends."
Right. Very superficial. Yes, I get that now.
Yeah.
Now, do they have to have all of these signs?
No, typically for any of these patterns in any diagnostic manual, it's usually, I think it's about 8 or 9 we've talked about. Usually it's 5 of those.
Okay, so 5. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are the 8.
Yeah, 4 to 5 of them. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, a little over half of them. And you'll see a lot.
And you see, to even qualify, you don't have to have all 8 of those. So just imagine somebody who fits in with having like the seductive nature, needing an audience, imposing, his need to be seen on the people he's around or that he interacts with. All of those things, even if it's not the whole of histrionic personality, all the symptoms, having those few ones are what we see in a lot of people, or even not even having 4 out of 8, even having 3 out of 8, right? What do we say then? Does that person have traits? Are they borderline histrionic? Very interesting, especially when it comes to all these people that we see online these days. And yeah, I guess he was seductive to some. There were some women who just thought he was so beautiful. They said it in the chats, and there was some worship going on in this bandit. But let's continue.
A lot of them cluster together: the physical seductiveness, the physical appearance, the getting attention. That's the core of them. This is the core.
Can someone have histrionic personality disorder and borderline personality?
You know, what we'd see is that the histrionic patterns are largely getting subsumed under the borderline piece, and they're using the attention-seeking, seductive patterns as a way to create an overly intense attachment with another person.
Okay. How long do these symptoms have to last?
Well, we see that these are patterns that generalize. So this is what we don't want to do is, like, let's say somebody goes to college. They're desperately trying to fit in, or graduate school, or some new job or new city. They're desperately trying to fit in, and they go and they buy the new wardrobe and they do themselves up and they're trying so hard. And then after a couple months they give it up. Like, I've met my friends, I'm cool, it's good. This is not flash in the pan. These are patterns that are consistent across intimate relationships, family relationships, work relationships, in the world in general, and it characterizes much of their adult life. Like, this is not, does that make sense? It's not just a merry widow.
This isn't
or
depression where you have to have
No, it's not episodic. It's not, it's chronic. It's chronic.
Now, are there different types of histrionic personality disorder?
You know, there's a famous, and well vaunted personality theorist, a guy named Theodore Milan. He recently passed in the last couple of years, and he really had an incredibly well articulated theory of personality and personality disorder patterns. For most of them, whether it be borderline or histrionic, he would identify sort of sub patterns, because we use this word broadly, but these patterns exist on a continuum from relatively benign to quite severe.
So you see pretty much that it goes from sort of benign to severe, meaning we're going to see people who have a few traits. They probably aren't histrionic, but they have histrionic traits, histrionic tendencies, even to full-blown, psychopathic histrionic person, I wanted to play this video really quickly because I don't know if you guys will agree that this person is histrionic, but I definitely think, especially with a lot of these celebrities, their behaviors are sort of outlandish like that. Let me put this on. Let me put on this video. Share this tab instead. This is just a recent live stream of Chrisean Rock. She got out of jail, and she was just sort of very giddy and happy about the situation, which is understandable. She has a toddler. But I think she's one of these people. She might not have histrionic personality disorder, but the way she presents herself is very strange. All right, let's continue. Oh, this is not the one. Sorry, guys.
Chrisean Rock goes live for the first time since being released from.
I hate when they add all this extra stuff. Okay. I was only going to take a second. Okay.
Say, why does it say I'm coming home soon? Say, bro, I ain't even been out. That motherfucker long for you to be kicked flat. That's crazy. I ain't gonna hold y'all. I don't feel like I'm home either. So I like that.
We on autopilot.
You feel me? I'm on autopilot right now. You feel me? But this is me in the flesh. I just wanted to be in the flesh right now. Not the flesh, in the spirit. I ain't gonna hold you. But, shit. I can't win. I mean, I'm gonna win.
All day. It's already written.
Hey, yo, I really want to cut up. But I got so much stuff. Oh, my God.
Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Dang. It's so much I want to say. But I like surprising y'all. This is fun. The little anticipation is crazy. But I don't got nothing to say. You know what I do got? I am released though. Why is y'all saying I'm still like that? That's creepy.
We gave God all the glory.
Yeah, this is creepy. Oh my God, yo, okay, so in that was today. I just, put my hair up, I put some glasses. I'm like, all right, let me stop dragging for real. I didn't really care how I looked inside. Spill the tea. Man, I'm about to get up off here. I'm getting scared already.
No fear.
No, not scared, but it's like, why would I spoil whatever? I don't know. I want to tell you. Okay, let me just say thank you, Lord. Okay, thank you, Jesus, for this revamp. I got all my, well, I'm getting all my stuff out the way so I can like be effective and just in my son's life, for real. And then I ain't gonna hold you. I'm working on my purity, y'all. Like that's, you know how people like, oh yeah, I'm getting my life together. I gotta get my money. No, it's really like, yeah, I know. And then like, just really walking that walk, talking that talk. I don't really got nothing bad to say. But thank you for everybody that did love with me through this hard time. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna get paid for the rest I got to say to y'all. But look, we could pray. We could end out on prayer right now. I'm free. Thank you, Jesus. Hey, Father God, I just would come to you, just ask for forgiveness for our sins, Lord. I thank for this new set of energy.
So, obviously she's extremely dramatic. There is some way she on her oh Lord. She definitely is in some ways. I would say she's in her, like, there's a seductive way with the way she's carrying herself. She's obviously wearing flashy jewelry. She had the necklace on her head. She's sort of very bizarre with her mannerisms. I'm not trying to make light of the issue. I'm trying to show more examples of this in many different ranges, right? From what we saw to what we might start to see. Cucumber says a trait. Call me Queen T says, I think she has some issues, possibly some traits of this, but I wouldn't lead towards an actual diagnosis. I also want to point out social media is creating mental illness in some people. Well, this is the thing though. Social media can only be an outlet for your mental illness. The social media alone cannot just make you mentally ill. But I see what you're saying, and I'm not necessarily diagnosing her, but I want us to see some of these behaviors in practice. How a lot of times we'll see a lot of people around us who might fall in some of these categories. Like they're probably not going to present like a full-on histrionic, but we'll start to see a lot of these traits here where people are carrying themselves in ways that are histrionic. So she might not have histrionic personality disorder. I cannot diagnose anybody, which I've said like 100 times, but I can absolutely show you examples of what I think is somebody with some of these traits. A good example of it is definitely Krishan, because she has had streams where she's like showing her ass and doing sort of the seductive nature on it. She's very focused on her particular image. But it's easy to look at people and see a lot of these traits because it's not that outlandish. The behavior isn't that outlandish. You can only get to a diagnosis when you put all the symptoms together and you have the education to back your opinion. So Kiki Star says she's so young, it's sad. Yeah, she is very young. She is very young, and she sort of became this internet sensation just because they showed her doing her antics, right? So they sort of have fed her based off of her bad behavior, her anonymity, not anonymity, her infamy is what has made her sort of very popular, right? When this live stream came out, when I saw this on YouTube and it said 2 hours ago, I was like, oh, I know people are gonna be reacting to this because the way she's coming across, like she clearly does seem like she's on something. I don't know if it is, but she might just be so like, are you histrionic? Do you have 2 or more traits? Called 1-800. Right. But yeah, I definitely don't have the qualifications to diagnose anybody. But I can tell you that we probably see traits like a lot of these that are being described more frequently than we can even imagine. Robin says Blueface effed her over. He definitely did. But look at him now. Blueface looks like he stinks. He looks like he stinks, and he looks like he's big too because the mugshot, it showed that part of his face, and he got like liver spots. I don't know what that is on his face, but he looks bad. And to be fair, if she were to turn away from how she's been living, she might actually be able to recover some of herself, you know. Um, Robin M said she was doing well before she met him, and then she started drinking and crashing out. You know, she's been crashing out kind of, um, especially on Bad Girls Club. But you know, I will say that she has been fed for her bad behavior though, and has sort of also in a way acquiesced to that. Like she knows that she's become popular in things for being online, acting a fool, fighting, doing all these crazy things. She knows that's what popularizes her because it's not like she has music or deals and things that have her on the forefront. That's really just not going on. That's not what's going on for her. So, Empress said, Robin, it's how he wanted her, unfortunately. Yeah, and look at him looking strung out. He looks bad. He looks really, really bad. And people were saying that it looks like he gets a perm because look how rough his hair is in jail. But when he was rich and out and about and he had the money for the products, his hair looked all silky, you know? So, or someone also said he was probably washing his hair with prison soap. So let's continue.
I got going on. It feels so good. I'm at peace. I'm really good. My son is like Lord, that is crazy. He grew, yo, and he's oh my God, and he's awesome. And then he's like I ain't gonna hold you, he remember me. So I was like, all right, long story short, let me get off here. I'm getting like, carried away. But look, new projects, new our film too. Look, I ain't even gonna tell you. I'm so excited, but not excited to like see. I'm talking too much. Actually, look, bless the Lord. Oh yeah, let's pray. But continue to keep helping me with this journey.
And I noticed some of these women online have you see a lot of them leaning into these weird things like her. She's claiming to be spiritual or feeling spiritual. You had Brittany Renner going online with with the hijab, basically implying that she's turned her life over to Allah. But notice how susceptible these people are. So they go very far. They can very well be rewarded for their looks and the fact that they chose to prioritize their image, right? But at the same time, they're still susceptible to these weird, like fringe environments, these religions and things that are very manipulative. Even those that take people's money and things like that. You see what I'm saying? It's like a double-edged sword sometimes. And again, I'm not indicting any of these people as having histrionic personality disorder. I'm not qualified to diagnose any mental illnesses. If you need treatment, seek treatment. Right, all the whole month of September is suicide prevention and awareness. So hopefully, people, if they feel like they're suffering from anything, you know, these crises. We talked a little bit about how borderline personality disorder is very similar to histrionic, but the difference is they have a focus on someone, on the thing, the man, right? The imaginary or real. When she's sober, I see the potential in her. Yeah, I mean, she used to be an athlete, so obviously she's probably capable of living a disciplined life, but you know she's also extremely suggestible, right? She can Krishan, she can be manipulated. This man is manipulating her, right? She could even fall on the borderline part where the man is what she seeks, right? He's everything to her. He is her world, where the histrionic, the attention is their world. We do see this unnatural connection that she has with Krishan, this like weird not Krishan, with Blueface, this weird out there connection where it's like this dude does you dirty and you still love him, you know? So she could go in any direction, but I'm telling you, this is an expression of a lot of these traits that we talk about, that we hear. I can't diagnose anybody, but we can see what's right in front of us. So again, obviously you guys can also let me know your thoughts in the chat. I'm going to put the link in case anybody's interested in some of these examples or the topic at all. All right, let's continue. And also, guys, feel free to hit the Cash App, you know, hit the super chat, support the content, support the different subject matter that I'm interested in trying to get into. I know it's not the juiciest shit to be talking about on a Saturday night, but I still think a lot of this information is important. It's beneficial. You know, it can help us to get a better understanding of ourselves and the people that we have around us. Ooh, okay. I'm gonna end my show soon. I just saw something I want to watch. Robin M said she was stigmatized. I definitely agree to some extent that she was attached to him, maybe sex because of the sex, but I definitely think she's fixated on him too. Like he's her grand man, right? No matter what he does, he's that guy that she's attached to. And if she does have borderline personality or borderline traits, which if she does have those things, I suggest she goes and gets the treatment. She would be fixated on the man, on the relationship, right? Not necessarily even him as an individual, right? Focused on him as her boyfriend or whatever it is she wants him to be, what he is to her. All right, let's continue to see if we can see a little bit more of her little erratic behavior, because she loves being on camera. Let's be real. Okay, so
I just want to get up on here because I don't know what's up with y'all. Talking about I'm good. I'm home. Maybe this is not, actually this is not pre-recorded. This live. This is live. I was trying to pop out. You feel me? But I'm still popping out. But yo, this is crazy. And then our day was just a blessed day. And then my baby, oh my God, he had his birthday. Look, you saw my caption. I can't even cry because I feel healed. I mean, look, I cried. I got it all out before I came because I was like, long story short, I can't even say it. Oh, yeah. B Simone, where you at? I'm coming. I'm coming. All right, I'm on my way to you. When I'm on my way to you, but B Simone, I don't know, you've been on my heart. I pray for B Simone. I don't know. I just heard B Simone. B Simone. I was watching her stuff right before I got locked, so it was just like, I don't know, she's on my heart right now. But anyway, because I was thinking about doing interviews, but I'm only doing like certain ones. I ain't gonna hold you. Like, I remember I did this interview with B Simone, and it was just like, long story short, I can't give it up. I'm just let you know when I let you know. But look, I gotta make a few phone calls. Y'all see the drama going on. I don't know. It's like I'm running away from drama right now. I'm trying to stay in the light of my peace right now. It's just so good. Oh my God. Like, I'm just happy to be home, all right? I don't want to spoil all the happy stuff, but I'm excited. And
all right, sometimes hearing her talk just like makes my eyes swirl, like out of focus. But we got a pretty good idea. Obviously, like I said, you can't indict her of any disorders, but this is how some of these behaviors play out. Um, yeah, Robin, that's the thing people don't understand. Like, just because a woman defends herself physically against abuse doesn't mean she isn't being abused. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the issue. A lot of times people just expect people who go through those types of things to just sit there, and that's not always how it works. There are people sometimes who fight back, but they're not strong. She's never going to be stronger than a man at the end of the day. She was defending herself most of the time. That's what I heard as well. And I did also hear that he would just black her eye for no reason. So it's sort of seemed to be their back and forth dynamic. And she did. She probably did feel indebted to him. It's kind of unfortunate. She was definitely high or on her way to being drunk. I agree as well. And I say a lot of that because of her mannerisms, because she was kind of like all over the place, like with just the way she was holding the phone. Like, at first she was showing herself, and then I think maybe to some degree she felt like she was showing too much, and so she was just started showing her face and things like that. So there's like some residual shame there. So she might want the attention, but she might still be a little insecure around some of that attention. Empress Kia said, "This is just sad. I watched her." Robin said, "I watched her reality show. He was abusing her in all aspects, mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically." Yeah. You don't look nor sound excited, right? She definitely has some sadness in her eyes. Like, I can see that, but she's also very young. Like, a lot of this stuff is playing out with her a lot of it before she reached like full development in her brain. You know, I'm not making excuses for her at the end of the day. You know, people do the things that they do and they try, but at the same time, her need for attention is literally, especially negative attention, has been incentivized, right? She gets money. She gets not anonymity. She gets infamy, right? Because people know of her, speak of her, right? Want to know what's up with her in Blueface and Krishan, not Blueface and Krishan, but with her in Blueface. You know, people are inquisitive about why she's still with him. Is she doing better? Is she trying to take care of her kids? You know, I remember the issue where she was holding her baby and baby's head was just hanging back like that. And she talked about, she was like, well, how come nobody helped me? You know, and so people had sympathy for her. So you give me a black eye, now I owe you. Wow. Robert says, when you watch the reality show, you can tell she's broken and desperate for love. Her family is very dysfunctional. Yeah, and a lot of the root causes to why people have those dysfunctions in relationships, a lot of it is attachment style we read of, right? So when they were an infant, they weren't properly socialized with their parents. That causes issues when they grow up, right? Things that people don't think are that serious, they don't see that really as a trauma, but it can actually interfere with somebody's development. Her interview with B. Simone was good. She seemed sober and in her right mind. And that's a tough thing, because when she's sober and when she's in her best self, she probably functions very high. People probably see many good qualities in her. But then she sort of falls victim to these schemes, this type of man, you know, the lifestyle, the incentivizing, the negativity, and actually the violence, because they pretty much record her getting beat up and stuff like that. You know, they record her getting into these situations, going to fight his mom. Like, it's pretty sad what's going on with her. As much as I'm gonna say she's a dumb bitch, let's be real, she is very dumb. Some of the stuff that she does, I'm just like, what is going on with you? Like, but at the same time, I truly do think that she's going through stuff. And I say she's dumb because of the fact, like, okay, you can't just continue to say, like, all right, I'm gonna keep doing these things. I'm gonna keep putting my child in danger. You know, I feel like once you have that child, there's more of a responsibility on you to get things in order. You know, it's a little, I'm just not going to look at you as just a blameless victim, because now there's somebody else in the equation. And especially some of the abuse that she would tolerate, and how her kid looked and things with that, you know, I don't know. There's a lot with her situation that's sort of sad, like the tooth situation, the tattoo on her face. And like, it just seems like she's being used in the worst way, both for entertainment and for this man, and for, you know, whatever he desires, his need for control with her as well. So I do have sympathy for her, even though I think she's very silly sometimes. So, okay, let us go back over to Dr. Ramani, and we're going to listen to some more. There's only a little bit left in terms of this disorder, and then you'll probably start to wrap up the discussion with another article and people's thoughts. All right, so let's continue.
And they can manifest in different ways. So, for example, one form that I believe that this might be in Theodore Milan's taxonomy is this idea of the appeasing histrionic individual. So the appeasing histrionic individual will do anything to make sure everyone around them is happy and taken care of. And they are very solicitous, but it's almost like they look like the rescuer. Like this, they're the leader of the tribe, and, you know, and they almost are a little bit anxious about all of that. You know, so there are there's also more of the vivacious histrionic. That's more of our classical histrionic. That's the life of the party and give me all the attention, and, you know, here I am and looking fabulous, and I am fabulous. So he identifies those subtypes. And I think that's a wise distinction. What we see, though, is the way those subtypes line up, they actually then explain a lot of the overlap with the other personality patterns. For example, the more appeasing histrionic style looks like a different personality style that we call dependent personality style. The vivacious histrionic looks like a classical histrionic. And then I think he even talks about more of like I don't remember how he termed it, almost like a sullen or a, you know, kind of a histrionic. And these are people who get really brooding and resentful when they're not getting all the attention they want. That feels a little bit more like a borderline pattern. So you see now how this sort of this blob called histrionic gets cut up into different pieces of pie that might overlap with other patterns. And these things are very heterogeneous, they're very nuanced because human beings are.
When will these symptoms start to display?
Here's where it gets tricky with histrionic. Many teenagers are by definition histrionic. Look at me, no, look at me, look at me. No, I have blue hair. No, I did this, I did that. Look at my social media. I always say you gotta let an adolescent bake for a little while before you pull it out of the oven. And so I would not overly get lost in the use of this term until maybe early to mid-20s.
Okay.
And then see if it sustains. 'Cause I gotta be frank with you, there are people in their 60s who are like this, like a woman, in her 60s who will still go out, sexy, seductive, and she really will feel like she's past her prime, but she's still out there working it and getting the attention, and so it will sustain over the lifespan. But I would not bandy the term around until the person's found a little bit of their stride in adulthood to rule it out from just the anxiety of trying to find their place in the world.
You've talked a little bit about this. Do you find a lot of differences on how men display these symptoms versus women?
Yeah, I do think, there are histrionic men, and what makes it tricky is I wish this was called superficial personality disorder.
I totally agree.
Yeah. The word histrionic is a gendered term. Like I said, as a feminist, I really dislike this term wholly. I think it pathologizes women, which I have a problem with. I think anyone can be attention seeking. For men with histrionic personality style, what you see is they'll often use money, wealth, and the trappings of that. Lamborghini sports car, $40,000 watch, fancy man shoes.
Right. Fancy man shoes. I need some of those. Goodness.
Fancy man clothes, like the labeled clothes and the suit cut just so, and bottle service. I'm going to spend $4,000 and everyone's going to see how great I am. Come give me attention in the bar or the club. It's in some ways men display the histrionic through more of their trappings because it's a little odd for a man. Men don't have cleavage, do they?
And that one sort of reminds me of those men who, the men who they always got all the trappings and bling down, right? Like, for example, they're full of mud, like they're always showing their fancy cars. They got their most expensive jewelry and other accessories on when they're talking to people, when they're showing themselves, right? You have a lot of these people online, these personalities online, who their whole image is based off of having expensive items, right? Think about it. Anton Daniels, he wears the fancy Rolex. He got the hat. He got the shirts and the he will wear the robe, the Gucci robe, and things like that. It's about showing, right? That's a male histrionic. Is what she's saying is more so that they're showing themselves with their wealth, because that's what a man is going to lean into, versus a woman's going to lean into her beauty, her femininity, those things about herself as a woman that makes her attractive, right? Men, it's money. Women, it's looks. There can be men who are very beautiful, trust me, but that man might be beautiful and also, bragging about these very expensive items. All right, let's continue, because we're not talking about who gravitates towards them. We're just talking about histrionic, period. Stop trying to make everything a DMP conversation. Tiny draws. All right, let's continue.
It's a little cliche and sort of Studio 54-ish to have your shirt unbuttoned and that kind of thing, but but it is, sure. They may really spend a lot of time at the gym, so they can go and sort of be glistening and abby and all of that. They like going to resorts where they can show off their bodies, all of that. You'll see that in men. So some similar to women, but the attention seeking might take more of the wealth, power, possession kind of a path.
All right. And so they're saying that it can be both of them, right? So they can be men who are, they're driven by how they look. They're very proud of themselves physically, but also they're always showing the valuable things that they think they have, their wealth, right? Pretty much always flashing Cartier glasses or Gucci belts and Gucci robes, right? And things like that. Things that show that the man has a significant amount of wealth or whatever. So you can definitely see a lot of that with these personalities, especially, I'll say this, you can see that with these personalities, especially in these sectors, right? Where people are sort of trying to present themselves as having this beautiful, big, bad self, right? They're just so rich and wealthy. They got the Gucci robe. They're just hanging out with you peasants in their, excuse me, their $3,000 robe or whatever, right? Like it's a way of showing, getting attention, because they know if they come on a panel with a Gucci robe, people are gonna be like, "Ooh, look at, he's so rich. He's over here with us regular, degular bandits," right? And that's why you would see Anton pop up on his own Fight Club shows where the dusty people are there. He would be flexing, right? Because he's like, okay, this is an audience. I got the money. I got the stuff. I'm rich. I'm that. And you guys are broke. So you guys are going to look at me and you're going to give this a lot of attention, right? It's exactly what he was looking for. He wanted to be noticed for his wealth. And I'm just giving examples, Q. So I don't know why these people are crying. Anton Daniels is not your father anyway. So what do you, I don't get it. I don't get it. Let's continue.
What about for women?
For women, they may use straight up appearance. Like a woman can use cosmetics and accessories and color in a different way. I mean, it would be unusual for a heterosexual man to go out in a magenta shirt and high heels.
Yes.
Like that would be a
Unless
whole
they're West Hollywood.
different story.
Right.
So for women, they may really be able to, like, they'll use style of dress, seductiveness of dress, cosmetic enhancement of their bodies, which isn't as much something you'd see in a man, that kind of thing. So I think it's both appearance, but for women it might be literally their physical appearance, while for men it might be the trappings around that physical.
All right, so here's an interesting one as well then. So those women who do a lot of body surgery, Kylie Jenner and them, the nose surgeries and the fillers before they even hit 21, right? There are some histrionic traits there, right? That need to be seen. They're always on IG and things like that, showing their friendships, their relationship, their children. They leave their house looking like they want to be seen, right? They pretty much, she's actually done significant alterations to her appearance. Like, think about what Kylie looked like. And I'm not trying to shame her. She looked like a white girl, right? Like, I'm not trying to shame her. At the end of the day, she was who she was. But compare that to what she looks like now. Her features have almost morphed into something that she finds to be attractive, seductive. You know, the way she records herself on IG. That's a pretty good example of that type of trait, right? Versus the personality disorder. Who's that thing? Who's that little girl? Okay. All right, so I'm going to put this up there. I'm going to share this tab. And again, I'm not trying to indict none of these people. So if these are your favorite people, don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me. Tiny Josh says all the BBLs and chest ups. Absolutely. I think you can absolutely make an argument that some people who have these traits will be doing all types of alterations to their bodies and things like that. Robin said Lori Harvey had a lot of surgery too. You know, I think a lot of the times what people notice is what looks significantly different than the person. So a lot of the times you will have a lot of women who look like Lori that even though she's altered herself a lot, there's probably a lot of women with those features, so it doesn't look way different. She had a lip filler, rhinoplasty, definitely. Buccal fat removal, BBL, and boob job. Yeah, I mean, most of those people in the industry do. They say Beyonce has as well, but we can't label them all histrionic, but we can definitely look at some of their traits in terms of how they carry themselves. Now with Kylie, I think a lot more of it that I see more histrionic traits is like her need to be seen. She significantly made these alterations before she was even grown. You know, she was pretty young. I think Lori Harvey's like 28 or 29. I think she might be in the latter end of 20s. I don't know when she got all that surgery. But Kylie started very young getting all of these alterations to her appearance. And she's also in IG, like she got very famous and wealthy off of her presence on social media, her makeup. Her clothes. I have a Kylie Jenner dress in my closet. It ended up being $20 at being $20 at TJ Maxx. You know, so she was incentivized to carry herself this way. Of course, if you're making a bunch of money off of showing yourself, your body, your looks, keeping in tip-top shape, getting all the perfect surgeries, and just coming out of your house looking crazy, like crazy good, and just like outfits and things, like all the outfits that she wears when she goes out, like obviously that's part of her brand. Not every celebrity leaves the house like that. Beyonce had rhinoplasty and a BBL. Yep, I've heard of the BBL. And actually, I saw her shadow in some type of video the other day, and I was like, she has ant booty. But yeah, Kylie went crazy. She got her chin shaved down. Like, she's gotten so much alterations to her face, and it's unfortunate because she's so young. So now you really don't like her face. We don't know what she's gonna look like. Yeah, but I'm sure she'll have the money, to keep herself looking presentable at least. I think she's rich enough to fix any mistakes that are made to her face. I just hope she doesn't pass away or fall. I hate to put that out there. Let me knock on wood. I just hope she doesn't do too much surgery that it becomes dangerous for her health, I should say, because that's how Kanye's mom passed. All right, let's see this video. We're just gonna pay attention to the mannerisms, the seduction. Obviously, the seduction is what gets her the I believe Kanye has it. Oh yeah, Kanye is like, but Kanye gives me bipolar. Because he always has fits. He has fits of rage, fits of like energy. Like he has fits. So I feel like he's more bipolar. But I can't diagnose anybody. Yeah. Oh yeah. They said Kanye had lipo before. Yes, he has. He has. They said he got the abs or whatever too, but I don't know if that's true because he's looking a little chunky. They said, I think Kylie grew up super insecure and was compared a lot to Kim and her other siblings. She was considered the ugly duckling. Her change didn't shock me. Yeah, it definitely did it, because if you look at Kim naturally when she was young, I see why she would feel this way. I mean, Kim Kardashian was very beautiful. She was a stunner when she was young. Don't get me wrong. She did a lot of surgery and stuff that sort of has her looking, just halo-ish. Like she just, like, her face seems like what a lot of people look like. But when she was young, I think she was very beautiful. She was very natural, at least the way she appeared. Makeup, her face didn't look like she needed a lot of makeup. She had strong features. I thought Kim Kardashian was very naturally pretty. The other sisters, they had different parents. So I think that's where the features were a lot different. Kylie had the very thin lips and her face was like squished in, and she didn't like that compared to her sister, who's this full lip, big eyes, high cheekbones. Like, she really felt, I could see her feeling inferior to somebody who has the significant difference in features. And obviously she's not going to look like that. Her dad is Bruce Jenner. Her dad is Bruce Jenner. She's not going to look like that. All right, let's just keep it a buck. But she had a very soft face. It was like you could pinch her, and she wanted the deep features. She wanted the high cheekbones. She wanted the dark eyes and the thick eyebrows and the like, just having that like sex appeal that people saw naturally in Kim. So yeah, little Kim was very beautiful before she touched her face too. Lord, now she literally looks like an ant, like literally. And then she got the face like stretched, like the bad Botox. Like, she's too rich to have that type of surgery. Somebody needs to talk to her and be like, I don't know what you did, baby. Let's take all them fillers out. Let's just see if we can just pull out all the meat that's extra over there now. It was their dad, Robert Kardashian, was a nice looking man. He gave them their genes. Yeah, I believe he was from Armenia. So we're talking about like, oh, sorry, what is my... We're talking about the dark features. We're talking about... Oh, I don't... Like, he had those features in him. He was an Armenian man. They have those like very almost like an Italian look, just out of having the animated features and the dark eyes and just having that face. That's what she wanted. She wanted to look like that, but she had that pinched in face. She had that like... Her nose was like super pointy and small. She had like little small lips. I'm trying to show you guys, look very... She just didn't look like Kim. You know, I'll actually show you guys so you guys can see. So you guys can sort of see what I'm talking about. So you have Kim Kardashian. And I guess, you know, we never know. If Kylie was over there doing these surgeries as a young girl, who's to say that she hadn't done anything? I think at this point, though, it was still sort of looked at like bad for a young person to do that type of surgery. But look at her. I think she was actually pretty. Like she had pretty features naturally. Now she's done all types of things. But I think that's the difference, right? Now let me show you guys Kylie Jenner as a kid. Okay? So like even here, you know, look at the difference in the facial structure. Again, I'm not trying to shame Kylie. I think at the end of the day, she's become very successful in things off of her look. But you can even see in these pictures here. Look at this one. You see like the pinched nature of her face compared to like everything else comes out now. Like, so now she got the cheeks that come out more. The nose is obviously still kind of in shape. It just like shifted, and her lips are obviously way bigger. Like, it's just a very big difference in even her and her sisters. Like, look at that. Let's have a moment of silence for Kylie Jenner's old face. I think either way she was beautiful. I just think she felt like she needed to change. Cause like, you're not gonna tell me she's ugly. She's not just ugly just because her face is pinched like that. Like, there's nothing ugly about it. I just think at the end of the day, she wanted to be able to represent something. It's not saying nothing about the social climber. Yeah. But look at it's a different face, you know. She just wanted to look more like her sisters versus herself, who she more so favored her dad. I think, you know, she didn't even favor her mom, Kris Jenner. You see how they look versus, you know what I mean? Like, they just have a different look. They're still all brown-eyed and things like that, but they have a different sort of face than the other sisters, and that's okay. Look at their dad. Now tell me them girls aren't their dad. Come on. Here, let me make it bigger, because this is crazy. Like, they are their dad. Oh, come on, E! News. Look at those girls are their father at the end of the day. They said Kim had more ethnic features. She was never ugly. She just looked like a white girl. Right, exactly. She literally just looked like a white girl. There was nothing wrong with her. I don't think she was ugly. I just think the reason why people comment on what she looks like now is because it's significantly different. It's not even like her real face, you know? It's not what she looks like or what she looked like before. It's like an exaggerated nature. And even like, look at how she carries herself. Well, I'm taking a sweet pic with my kid, but I have on a mini dress and I'm like dolled up, full hair, makeup in my house, not really going anywhere, right? You know, it's just how she sort of carries herself. She probably was going somewhere though, so let me not even take that away from her. But let's look at this video now, just see kind of how she carries herself, her personality, and then we'll move on. Just trying to show you guys some more modern examples of things.
Okay guys, we're back.
Kylie Jenner and Jordan Woods are putting the past behind them. On September 6th, the Kardashian star posted a video to her TikTok of her BFF Stassi and Jordan Woods lip-syncing to an audio of Kim Kardashian from their Hulu show. And it's safe to say the trio is officially back together.
Okay guys, we're back. Did you miss us? Because we missed you.
This sweet moment comes 5 years after the 2019 incident in which Jordan admitted to kissing Khloe's then partner, Tristan Thompson. However, as fans will remember, the two were spotted getting dinner together in Los Angeles back in July of 2023, marking the duo's first time being seen in public in 4 years. And since then, Kylie has directly addressed the aftermath of the scandal, taking fans behind the headlines. During an episode of the family's Hulu show, The Kardashians, the 27-year-old shared where she and Jordan really...
I was trying to just show that small clip, but I got distracted in the back trying to find a clip. Oop. All right, anyways, that's the example there. I just wanted to show you guys that clip of them, what they used to post online. Like this is how they carried themselves on there, really having those friendships. Like even think about her friendship with, what's her face? Her friendship with Jordan and the other girl. All of it is basically them just trying to portray themselves a certain way. It's all part of her image, right? She wouldn't be friends with an ugly girl, let's say, right? She wouldn't be friends with a girl who didn't know how to dress, who probably wasn't wealthy or didn't have the capabilities of looking to the type of standard that she was interested in looking like. All right, so let me go to this really quickly. Obviously, we haven't looked at this too much because we've mostly been looking at the actual discussion. Oh, sorry, guys. We're going to finish off. I think we finished off. Okay, we have 3 more minutes of the video from Dr. Romney. All of them changing faces. Listen, they all really do change faces, though. That's the thing. You know, they it's part of them sustaining their image. So that's why I sort of say, in some ways, I think people in the industry in general have sort of it's their way of expressing some of these traits, you know? Oh, I'm going to go to the store at midnight. Okay, sorry, guys. I just got excited for no reason. All right, I'm going to press play.
Parents. What are the common comorbid or co-occurring disorders that you see?
Interestingly, I think with histrionic personality, it would not be unusual to see substance use disorders, all this sort of socializing, you know, and attention seeking. You're definitely going to increase the disinhibition, if you will, if you keep drinking. In addition, you can't always have all the attention. Unless you really are celebrity, superstar, all eyes are not always going to be on you. Mm-hmm. And so when that doesn't happen, it's not unusual to see depressive symptomatology. In folks with histrionic personality, you may also see some comorbid anxious symptomatology. I actually don't know the literature on this, so I'm going to spitball on this one. You might possibly see disordered eating patterns, maybe not a full-blown eating disorder, but in the quest to look a certain way, there may be, if not like body dysmorphic symptoms, eating disordered symptoms of restriction or over-exercise or something like that as a way to maintain a certain physical appearance. You might see that as well. And you're going to see patterns from other personality disorders.
In our example therapy session, where you were attempting to see if I had a narcissistic personality disorder, did you ever think, oh, but he's histrionic?
You know, I mean, if I'm going to call you out straight on this one, Kyle, is that you're in a performance-based industry, right? So you can turn it on and off, and I've seen you been able to do that. We'll be chatting, or you'll be on your phone, and you'll be like 3, 2, 1.
So this is where I can have some awareness too, right? You can easily look at anybody who spends time in a space like this, in a space where you do have to turn on and off and be ready to have some of these discussions, especially when you go on other people's panels and things like that. It's part of the nature of the industry, right? But you can't just call someone histrionic because they're a performance-based person or they engage in performance careers or activities. It's not how it works, right? It's a pairing of all the different symptoms. But I love how she breaks it down because she helps you to understand it without trying to overly diagnose people, right? Like you just get to observe how people might be presenting with this disorder without necessarily indicting someone with the disorder. It's my favorite thing about how Dr. Romney describes these, because a lot of people, when they're talking about these things, can be colored by their biases, right? Whatever situations they have going on, drama, that could affect how they view some of this stuff.
Here I am. So that on-offness, that sort of, it can smell like histrionic. Over the past many months, you and I have gotten to know each other.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So I would not, if all I had done was judge you on the first 30 minutes I met you when you were in and out of a shoot, okay, I might be like, what's his story? And you're in the media, okay, 2 strikes.
Yep.
But then I got to know you, and we've gotten to know each other quite well. I know the depth of your inner world. I know the stuff that you're about. So no. But that superficial kind of like la 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 la, that can really make people think that. And it's like the Glee Club people.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of talk to them and make sure. I have kids who are in the choir, and they are whatever the opposite of histrionic is. My kids, but they were in that world, and they would always sort of look shocked at the other Glee Club-esque people. So I do remember that. So I do think that you can be. I've been working in the media for a long time too. I've even met people who do the kind of stuff I do, they can be like da 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 and jazz handsy, like sort of jazz hands therapists. And it really is. But then you get to know the person, and you realize like they're able to sort of hold a room, but they are also able to be present with you and keep out the distractions, and they don't care that they're no longer the center of attention. It's the center of attention piece.
Important to note that.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so Dr. Ramani does a really good job describing histrionic personality disorder, but she also does a great job of showing you the traits that go along with that. All right. All right, let's continue. So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and share my screen. I only got a little bit more left, so we're going to do the Regina George story. So this one I really liked and wanted to include it here because I think that Regina George is like a social example maybe of a histrionic person, and especially how histrionic people a lot of times can end up being incentivized by their over excessive need to look good, to be seen, like, right? They could easily be overlooked because people will just assume, hey, that's just who they are, right? And not see a personality disorder or like a real issue. Although I can see issues with her just because of how she treated her friends. And all of these personality disorders are the characteristics are having issues and difficulties in interpersonal relationships. So what's really being affected in these people's lives is how they connect with others, right? Because the way they are can be read, it can be hurtful, it can be very painful to be with somebody like this because they're often callous about their behaviors and how that might impact you too. So, and again, they have that lack of empathy there too. So let me play the Regina George story for you guys. And this was actually some college students at I believe it was the University of Central Oklahoma. So they basically wanted to find some examples, whether it's in a movie or story, which is a lot of what we do in psychology. You find a modern example, or even, it doesn't necessarily have to be modern, but we find examples in everyday things like movies and shows. Like Dr. Ramani talks about how the show Bear with the guy from Shameless, how that's like an example of a narcissistic personality type, right? It's somebody with a narcissistic personality disorder. So let's look at the Regina George story as they break it down.
She's the queen bee, the star. Those other two are just her little workers.
Regina George. How do I even begin to explain Regina George?
Regina George is flawless. She has 2 Fendi purses and a silver Lexus.
I hear her hair's insured for $10,000.
I hear she does car commercials in Japan.
Her favorite movie is Varsity Blues. One time she met John Stamos on a plane, and he told her she was pretty. One time she punched me in the face. It was
with her looks. She constantly talks about how she's fat or not pretty enough, and she often seeks confirmation about her body and looks through her friends and other people. Her obsession with her appearance is probably one of her biggest weaknesses, as she spends much of her time seeking new ways of losing weight. The abnormal behavior and personality traits that Regina displays characterize histrionic personality disorder.
Oh, no. Didn't anybody tell you? You were supposed to wear a costume.
Shut up. I need to talk to you. You know that girl, Katie?
Yeah, she's cool. I invited her tonight.
Well, be careful because she has a huge crush on you.
Really? How do you know?
Because she told me. She tells everybody. It's kind of cute, actually. She's like a little girl. She writes all over her notebook, Mrs. Erin Samuels. And she made this t-shirt that says, I heart Erin, and she wears it under all her clothes.
Oh, come on.
Well, who can blame her? I mean, you're gorgeous. And okay, look, I'm not saying she's a stalker, but she saved this Kleenex you used.
And here's the thing. So in the movie, Lindsay Lohan, or Katie, I believe her name is, she threatens that attention that she gets from everybody, right? She's a new girl. She has an interesting origin story. She's attractive herself. You know, basically all the things that she uses to validate herself, she feels like this one girl is taking it away from her, right? So that is kind of why she goes and sabotages things with each of these people. And specifically, she doesn't care about how she's treating them, right? She doesn't care about the fact that, you know, that girl may really, really like the boy that she's saying all these disgusting things of. To, like, oh, she was obsessed with him, she's gonna do African voodoo, like, you know what I mean? Like, basically she was trying to sabotage her only because she threatened her internal validation that she got from everyone being focused on her, right? And she's rich, yeah, the money and the means to basically have all of those material things that make her stand out and make her appearance so, like, you know, so much part of who she is. Many of you starring your own Mean Girls movie you envision. You just be talking. Kaya, that movie is hilarious to me. I think it's funny too. I also love how they literally break the movie down, though. They don't turn it into a joke or anything. They break the movie down based off of her actions, how she treats her friends, pretty much how she's very, her character is very diabolical in how she interacts with everyone that's supposedly people that she loves, you know? So, okay, let us continue. And especially her friends, too. Like, they're going to get into a lot of that, but I just wanted to stop there on like, the physical appearance piece and how Katie threatened that.
And she said she's gonna do some kind of African voodoo with it to make you like her.
What?
This was it. Regina said she would talk to Erin for me, and now she was.
I know she's kind of socially retarded and weird, but she's my friend, so just promise me you won't make fun of her.
Of course I'm not gonna make fun of her.
How could Janice hate Regina? She was such a good...
Histrionic personality disorder is a condition in which people act in a very emotional and dramatic way that draws attention to themselves. Someone with this disorder wants to be the center of attention in any group of people, and they feel uncomfortable when they're not. While people with this disorder are often lively and interesting, they have difficulty accepting when people aren't focused exclusively on them. They may be perceived as being shallow and often engage in sexually seductive behavior to get attention.
Wait. Sit down. Seriously, sit down. Why don't I know you?
I'm new. I just moved here from Africa.
What?
I used to be homeschooled.
Wait, what?
My mom taught me at home.
No, I know what homeschool is. I'm not retarded. So you've actually never been to a real school before? That's really interesting.
Thanks.
You're like really pretty.
Thank you.
So you agree?
What?
You think you're really pretty?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh my god, I love your bracelet. Where did you get it?
Oh, my mom made it for me.
It's adorable.
Oh, it's so fetch.
What is fetch?
Oh, it's like slang from England.
Okay, you should just know that we don't do this a lot, so this is like a really huge deal.
We want to invite you to have lunch with us every day for the rest of the week. Oh, it's okay.
Coolness. So we'll see you tomorrow.
A person with histrionic personality disorder has culturally abnormal behavior in certain areas. These areas include cognition, or the way they perceive things, affectivity, which is the range and intensity of emotional responses, interpersonal functioning, and impulse control. In the previous clip, Regina displays abnormal behavior in interpersonal functioning. She doesn't know how to handle someone else receiving more attention than her. Regina will do anything in her power to become best friends with the person receiving all the attention. In this next clip, Regina sabotages her friends. This displays interpersonal functioning as well as affectivity because she doesn't have any remorse for turning her friends against each other.
Busted. Just start apologizing and crying. No, play it cool. Secret? What are you saying about?
Gretchen told me that you like Aaron Samuels. I mean, I don't care. Do whatever you want. But let me just tell you something about Aaron. All he cares about is school and his mom and his friends.
Is that bad?
But if you like him, whatever. I mean, I could talk to him for you if you want.
Really? You would do that? I mean, nothing embarrassing though, right?
Oh no, trust me. I know exactly how to play it. But wait, aren't you so mad at Gretchen for telling me?
No.
Because if you are, you can tell me. It was a really bitchy thing for her to do.
Yeah, it was pretty bitchy, but I'm not mad. I mean, I guess she just likes the attention.
See, Gretchen, I told you she's not mad at you.
I can't believe you think I like attention.
Okay, love ya. See you tomorrow.
In the next clip, Regina displays a variety of very shallow emotions. Knowing that she has emotionally destroyed one of her peers by making up a horrible rumor about her, she's able to shake it off like it never happened. This abnormal behavior also displays issues in affectivity.
Uh-oh. Go. Hey.
Why were you talking to Janice Ian?
I don't know. I mean, she's so weird. She just, came up to me and started talking to me about crack.
She's so pathetic. Let me tell you something about Janice Ian. We were best friends in middle school. I know, right? It's so embarrassing. I don't even... Whatever. So then in 8th grade, I started going out with my first boyfriend.
No, Lana, the thing is, you probably didn't need, like, a lot of people who surround themselves, or maybe not surround themselves, but a lot of people who are friends or like to be aligned with people who like to be the center of attention, is because they're hoping to get residual attention, right? They're hoping that they might be able to get a sliver of the popularity of the whatever, like just standing next to her, they feel empowered in a way. So I see why a lot of people like to align themselves. But if you're the type who you're not externally validated, a person who needs to be the center of attention probably gonna scare you. Like, you're probably gonna make you very uncomfortable. I don't like people like that. I personally like people who like to be laid back, like who like to chill, who like to just be like the funny, down to earth person, because that's way more energizing to be around than somebody who needs to be the spotlight. Because again, they're always going to be fighting for the spotlight, and you might be your little old self, but you can do something that will make them feel like you're trying to take the light away, or trying to be the one that's being seen. A lot of these people, the friends that they keep, they hold a position, right? So they're the center of attention, and these people are add-ons, right? They sort of make you look good. They're not ugly or anything like that, but they make you look good. They make you look like the center. Just like her being the tallest one and being in the middle, right? That's like, I feel like that's something about her, like that she needs to look like the center of everything, whether it's her school friends, her career, her like whatever, for relationships, whatever. She needs to be the centerpiece of everything. So again, not indicting any fictional characters as histrionic, just sort of describing how some of these behaviors can be displayed.
Boyfriend Kyle, who was totally gorgeous, but then he moved to Indiana. And Janice was like weirdly jealous of him. Like, if I would blow her off to hang out with Kyle, she'd be like, "Why didn't you call me back?" And I'd be like, "Why are you so obsessed with me?" So then for my birthday party, which was an all-girls pool party, I was like, "Janice, I can't invite you because I think you're a lesbian." I mean, I couldn't have a lesbian at my party. There could be girls there in their bathing suits. I mean, right? She was a lesbian. So then her mom called my mom and started yelling at her. It was so retarded. And then she dropped out of school because no one would talk to her. When she came back in the fall for high school, all of her hair was cut off and she was totally weird, and now I guess she's on crack. Oh my God, I love your skirt. Where did you get it?
It was my mom's in the 80s.
Vintage. So adorable.
Thanks.
That is the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen. Oh my god, I love your bracelet. Where did you get it?
So are you gonna send any candy canes?
No. I don't send them, I just get them. So, you better send me one, biatch. Love ya.
Here is another clip displaying Regina's lack of remorse.
And he's with Taylor Waddell. I heard they're going out. Wait, Jason's not going out with Taylor. No, he cannot blow you off like that. He's such a little skis. Give me your phone.
You're not gonna call him, right?
Do you think I'm an idiot? No. Waddell on South Boulevard?
Caller ID.
Not when you can from information.
Hello?
Hello, may I please speak to Taylor Waddell?
She's not home yet. Who's calling?
Oh, this is Susan from Planned Parenthood. I have her test results. If you could have her give me a call as soon as she can. It's urgent. Thank you. She's not going out with anyone. Okay, that was so fetch.
Regina displays sexually seductive behavior in all aspects of her life by the clothes she wears and her verbal and body language. This can be seen in the outfit she chose to perform in the school talent show. Regina also displays abnormal behavior in cognition. Her main focus is on her weight. Regina perceives herself as being fat when she is clearly not. She always wants advice on how to lose weight. In this next clip, Regina gets upset when her dress doesn't seem to fit right.
Go the South Beach Fat Flush, and all you drink is cranberry juice for 72 hours.
This isn't even cranberry juice. It's cranberry juice cocktail. It's all sugar.
I want to lose 3 pounds.
It won't close.
It's a 5.
Okay, it must be marked wrong.
Katie, all I've been eating are these Caltine bars. They suck.
Ma'am, do you have this in the next size up?
Sorry, we only carry sizes 1, 3, and 5. You could try Sears.
The most effective treatment for histrionic personality disorder is cognitive behavior therapy. CBT would help Regina be able to control her emotions better, as well as give her some tools to cope with life in a more adaptive way. Regina would benefit from CBT in a way that would help her interpersonal relationships to be better able to make and maintain friendships.
Oh Lord. What the heck? Sorry, you guys. I don't know why it was freaking doing that. I sat there and watched Dr. Romney talk for hours, and it didn't freaking do that. But somehow they want to freaking take me down for a little college video. What the heck? Sorry, guys. But yeah, so let me put my PowerPoint back up. This shit is so annoying. I don't understand why I did that in the first place. So, obviously we're looking at Regina. And again, they were sort of on the seductive nature about herself, right? They were showing the candy cane scene where the scene where they're the candy cane girls. So they're pretty much singing the music. They're very seductive. And mind you, these are high school age kids. So they're pretty young, but they're being portrayed that way because that's sort of the personality that she's exhibiting. Do you guys see what I'm showing over here? Oh, you can't see that either. What the freak? All right, so I'm gonna pull up the next article and then, we'll probably just get out of here. I'm gonna look at Cleveland Clinic really quickly and then we'll end this. I'm gonna go do some other stuff. And I scheduled the dating show for tomorrow because realistically, I'm not doing none of that today. So let me share my screen with something that will actually work. This is from Cleveland Clinic, and they talk about histrionic personality disorder, sort of a little bit in layman's terms in the way they describe it. So let me know if you guys can see the new stuff on screen. This phone is like, so is it showing or not? Okay, it is. Sorry, my phone's a little behind, so I can't tell what you guys can see. This stream has been a hot mess in terms of certain things. So we can look at this diagnostic criteria really quickly because they break down the different symptoms for this, right? So they need to be the center of attention. They're seductive or provocative. They shift and have shallow emotions. They use their appearance to draw attention. So they'll do some of these outlandish things because they realize that comes with attention. That comes with people admonishing them, paying attention to them. They have impressionistic and vague speech. So they're saying a whole lot, but they ain't saying shit, right? It's just a bunch of bumbling of words put together. It really doesn't amount to anything of value in terms of speech. Like they're really not saying much, right? So they're also dramatic, or they have exaggerated emotions. That's why I was trying to show you guys Krishan Rock, because you could see her with the way she would be responding. Like she would be overly ghettoing herself, or like, I'm not saying maybe that is who she is, but you can tell there was theatrics in it as well because she enjoyed being seen. That was a part of it, right? She just got out of jail and now she can go back online and have millions of people talking about her, right? Because that's the reputation that she's built online, since she's been on there. Suggestible, easily influenced by others. So I can say this in both ways, the last two, right? So suggestible and thinks relationships are closer than they are. People have often said that Krishan appears like she likes this dude more than her. It's almost like she worships him, right? Tattooing his face on her body and her neck or whatever. A lot of it is a testament to her suggestibility, sort of how naive she is to the nature of the relationship. He be online dogging her out, showing the other girl, just sort of being like a typical narc to her, and she's there like feeling dedicated and devoted to him, right? There's a delusion in it where it validates her. He pays her a lot of attention. He brought attention to her to begin with helping her with her career and things like that. So maybe she feels indebted, or maybe she feels the connection is stronger than it really is, right? This is sort of a perfect example. She's sort of a perfect example of somebody who displays histrionic things. Doesn't mean that she has a histrionic personality disorder, and I definitely can't diagnose anybody. But so HPD is marked by intense, unstable emotions and distorted self-image, right? So that's why they need people to pay attention to them and to be marveled by them, right? Because they really don't see themselves for who they are, right? They do all the extra beauty stuff because even at the best, even at as best as they can put themselves together, they still don't feel great, right? They need people to see them and love what they see, call them beautiful, admire them. They need that as a way of being able to measure who it is they think they are. The word histrionic means dramatic or theatrical. So obviously they're those people who are always showing themselves, right, in a way. Empress said, wow. Yep. It's definitely surprising, especially when you start to look at it in the more simple form of like just having the traits, right? Just being somebody that needs to be seen, being super seductive. You know, your emotions, your relationships are very surface level. They're not very deep or real, right? That's why a lot of times the Kardashians, you see the men they're attached to, they have babies on them. They get online and embarrass them. See them coming out of hotels with women, things like that, right? They're really attracted to things for how it makes them look. So there's no beneath the surface emotions or love. It's all an image, right? It makes them look good to be attached to those bandits, right? It brings their image up to be attached to the bandits that they're attached to. All right. For people with histrionic disorder, their self-esteem depends on the approval of others and doesn't come from a true feeling of self-worth. So even though they look great, they check all the boxes, people pay attention to them, people, gawk at them, their bodies, their money, their finances for men, right? They still don't feel worth much, right? So it's not like they're doing all those things and it makes them feel good. They have to continue to do those things to even feel good, right? Like they have a very fragile sense of self. Uh, they have an overwhelming desire to be noticed, excuse me, and often behave dramatically or inappropriately to get attention. Right? This is where some of that seduction comes in, where they're always trying to draw people into their sexuality, always speaking about sex and sexiness and being beautiful and touching. It's just a weird thing that they do, right? There's a lot of people online who sort of have these characteristics. They always have to sexualize things. They're very strange in how they express their seductivity. It's inappropriate. It's usually misplaced a lot of the times. So they'll be having a regular conversation with someone and they'll start presenting themselves in a seductive way, It's just that's part of how it displays itself. People with histrionic personality disorder often don't realize their behavior and way of thinking may be problematic. It's a cluster B, we know. So who does it affect? So it affects people in their late teens, early 20s. Women and people assigned female at birth are commonly diagnosed with higher histrionic disorder than men and people than men and people assigned whatever. Men and women. Women are more likely to be diagnosed, and more men are more likely to be underdiagnosed or not diagnosed, because it is a thing where they just believe women are the ones that want the attention, right? They're the ones with the bodies and the surgery and all those things that give them the attention that they're looking for. Where a man, it will be something subtle, like they just want to be surrounded by cars, flashy jewelry, name brand outfits, name brand from head to toe every day. They got on their Cartier sunglasses inside. They're wearing a Louis Vuitton robe, a Gucci robe. They're wearing Gucci slippers. They want to be seen, right? For the men, it's a little bit different in terms of wanting to be seen, right? Because it's not their their outward appearance isn't sexy or anything. It might be, but it's more likely to be driven by a need to look expensive, to show your wealth. So you pay attention to some of those guys too, the ones who need to flash their money, their finances, their education, their career. That's a part of it too. Those are a part of the need to be validated externally. How common is it? 1% of people. Again, 1% of 200 million people is 2 million people. That's still a lot of people who go undiagnosed, untreated. They're one of the least likely personality disorders to actually seek out treatment because of their behavior is usually tolerated and rewarded. Just like Krishan. She'll get online, act a donkey, and that's what she makes the most money. All right, people are checking into her. She's getting deals still acting like this. She gets a check from Tubi. They follow her around while she does all of her antics and they record it. All right, so we're going to just do a brief overview of the symptoms, and I'll get you guys out of here and onto your next destination. It's definitely eye-opening, but this is the type of information that people run away from, and a lot of people will use to have surface level discussions where they're just trying to like attack people. Um, and it comes across like disingenuous. So I think it's tough with a sector like this. Again, I'm trying to get the hell out of here, but it's tough with an environment like this because people see this information and they're not necessarily drawn to it, right? They don't really want to know that the way that they carry themselves, maybe the way they see the world, is a little bit problematic, right? We know because these people who suffer from this, they're with the disorder, they're likely to have struggling interpersonal relationships. But let's just say you have just some of the traits, right? Let's say you just need to be seen and you need the person you're with to be seen. That's not necessarily too bad, right? For the woman, she gets to always have the name brand fashionable things because that's what the man likes, that's what they want to see you in, and that's what they want to be seen in. But imagine this is now a man who's more like the seductive kind where he wants to be seen in all of this and he wants other people to find him sexy and attractive. That might be a hard person to be with, right? So anyways, that's that. Let's read some of the symptoms really quickly. So a person with histrionic disorder may feel underappreciated or depressed when they're not the center of attention, have rapidly shifting and shallow emotions, be dramatic, extremely responsive, even to the point of embarrassing friends and family in public. They have a larger than life presence. They're persistently charming and flirtatious, right? It's just part of their character at some point. Part of their character is flirting with everybody and being super charming. It's being overly concerned with their physical appearance. They use their physical appearance to draw attention to themselves, right? So they'll wear super flashy clothes. In women, they talked about bright colored clothing, revealing clothing. These people will act inappropriately sexual with most of the people they meet, even when they're not sexually attracted to them. So there might be that weird sexual energy exchange when there's really no desire there, no connection or anything. It's just part of what they do. They speak dramatically and express strong emotions, but with few facts or details to support their opinions. Right, so this is where you will see a lot online. These people who they do all the theatrics. They make you really believe what they're saying. They're selling you an image or maybe a product or maybe even a course. Right, they're really trying to sell you what it is that they got out there, and so they have to be super dramatic and flamboyant with it. Right, but there's really no basis to it. It doesn't have anything much of value. All right, let's continue. There's only a few more left. They speak dramatically. They're gullible and easily influenced by others, especially by people they admire. Now, imagine all the people who are over there following some of these different crews, like, for example, the bag chasers, right? They pay a monthly amount and they get information that's supposed to change their life, make them successful, open up the rings of fire, and propel them to heights that the other people in the naked sphere will never reach, right? Like, it's just a very ambiguous thing that they're offering that these people will fall for because they have admiration for the person presenting it, maybe for the lifestyle that person lives, maybe the fact that Anton Daniels presents himself as wealthy, successful, rich, and so he can sell something like this to people like that because that's what they like. They like to see healthy, successful, rich people and follow the things that they do so that they can get that as well, right? It all loops in to how some of these people interact out there. Um, they think that their relationships with others are closer than they are. How many people online have you seen some of these people think like, oh, I thought you were my friend? And they'll reveal deep information, or they'll even expect a person to care more about their feelings and things because of a weak relationship they have online. Obviously, someone that you meet online that you only interact with on YouTube, you're not going to have that deep of relationship with them. This person might they might see more than is there, right? They might think, well, because I'm on panels with this person, we're best friends. We're so close. We're so connected, and they really don't have that much in common with the person. It's just a feeling. They have difficulty maintaining relationships, often seeming fake or shallow in their interactions with others. They need instant gratification and become bored or frustrated very easily, and they constantly seek assurance, reassurance, or approval. right? So it's a kind of a plethora of symptoms there, and I think you have to have between 4 and 5. So what causes it? Very quickly: genetics, childhood trauma, and parenting styles. So just like a psychopath, just like a sociopath, antisocial personality, some people are born that way, right? And some people are made by childhood trauma, parenting styles, things like that, things that can really disturb that that early bond that you have with your parent that will establish, you know, your just like your attachment style and things like that. So how is it diagnosed? Because of this healthcare, they typically don't diagnose people until after 18, especially because things can be confused with anxiety, depression, and things like that. But yes, so that's pretty much that. Really quickly, some treatments available: group therapy. They talked about cognitive behavioral therapy as being the best treatment for this, right? It's a structured, goal-oriented type of therapy. A therapist or psychologist helps you take a close look at your thoughts and emotions. Right, so the problem here is introspection, right? They're not able to see what it is, how how their actions are motivated, and how that comes across to other people. So cognitive behavioral therapy will help bring attention to those thoughts and emotions, those motivations for what they do, and instead of continuing to be validated by things on the outside, they can sort of learn to have some internal self-esteem that can help definitely. So that's why CBT is one of the most focused ones for this personality disorder. But there's also others. There's group therapy, and this helps people to see how their own behavior is reflected, right? They get to see how they come across, because in those group therapy groups, they expect you to be very transparent, right? They expect you to be involved in it and sort of hear people's feedback sometimes. So there's psychodynamic psychotherapy, and this focuses on psychological roots of emotional distress, right? So this is where they might try to tap into why you get so angry or upset when somebody else is the center of attention, right? Focusing on what that is and reflecting can help somebody not behave that way, not carry themselves that way, or at least not hurt others, right? So they might still feel that way, but maybe they won't sabotage people because they feel like they're getting more attention than them, right? If they can understand the thought process behind it. We have supportive psychotherapy as well. This aims to improve symptoms and maintain and restore or improve self-esteem and coping skills. Yes, listen, you can become uncomfortable because people get all the attention, but you don't have to let that impact how you treat people, especially in interpersonal relationships. If you start treating the people that's supposed to be your friends like this, these people are going to have very little support systems outside of family. And they might actually end up severing those ties as well due to their lack of empathy. So that is histrionic personality disorder. I don't have too much more on it. Again, my aim with these conversations is to bring light to what these things are, in the hopes that it inspires people to seek help, to work on some of these issues, whether they outright go and get a therapist or if they're just encouraged to sort of do some more introspection. These conversations are not meant to diagnose anybody or do any of that type of stuff. I'm just hoping that these conversations are giving us a good idea of some of what these personality disorders probably display as. They're not the most fun topics, but I try my best. So I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. If you'd like to donate to the show, it's not too late to send a super chat. It's not too late to send a cash app. It's definitely not too late to send a super thanks after the video is done. So if you guys could please support the content, I would greatly appreciate it, especially if you guys enjoyed it. If not, I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of your night. I'm going to get out of here. I do have some things coming up soon. I have a dating show that I want to do, speed dating, very casual. It's a soft opening. I'm going to try and structure a show around that. But I just want people to sort of get used to coming, maybe getting on the panels and chatting. You don't have to be cammed up, although people suggest that I impose that, but you don't have to be cammed up or anything, but just sort of getting into like the social experiment part of what I want to do on YouTube. So I hope you guys enjoy your evening. Thank you for coming and watching today. If for those of you particularly who are inspired by the content that I do and that causes you guys to do the exact same things that I'm doing, make sure that you guys give some credit, because I honestly think imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. Like, when somebody copies and does the same things as you, like purposefully to kind of like try and get at you, it doesn't show me that you have any hatred for me. It actually shows that you have some admiration. But I would just appreciate some credit if you guys are just gonna flat out copy my titles down to the T. At least give me some credit. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoy your night. To the bandits that applies to, I hope you get some help, and I'll see you guys on the